Hi guys, it's Anthony here, or as well as most people know me as the Ant-Man. Just wanted to give you a heads up before the episode starts. At the time when we recorded this episode, a massive thunderstorm actually took place, and it may have caused some sound issues halfway through the episode, where the rain just constantly poured down, and it was affecting the roof of the studio conservatory that we record in. I have tried to filter this as much as I can to help with the audio, but there might still be some slight audio issues as the episode progresses. So just a word of warning that this will happen, and hope it doesn't stop you from listening. Stay safe and enjoy the episode.
You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects, and that's movies, TV shows, video games and board games. I'm your host Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Ant-Man, and welcome. This episode we're going to be a board game episode. Woo woo woo! Finally, another one on season, not just one episode per season. Anyway, this episode is going to be talking about our top 5 co-op games of all time. I'm joined by a bunch of guys. I love to talk about board games. This week I'm joined by the man that puts the me in the meeple minded. Jason, how are you, sir?
I am good, thank you very much.
And I've also got fellow painter, board gamer and tabletop fan Kyrie.
Good evening.
Yes, our first ever female on M.T.V.B. This is history in the making, folks. Woo woo woo!
No pressure at all.
No pressure at all. Those 3% of our female fans are going crazy right now. It's unreal. It's amazing. No, thank you for coming on, Jason. Thank you for coming on. I was recently on your podcast, and let's return the favour by you coming here doing this episode, sir.
I know it's really not good, really. I have to get you on mine in order for you to get me back.
Not at all. Don't be like that. You was on mine first, remember?
This is true.
So, Meeple Minded, thank you for coming on. Tell the people what Meeple Minded is first. What is the podcast about?
Well, Meeple Minded is basically, it's a podcast where we talk everything tabletop games, be it board games, war games, card games, literally anything you can do that's analog and on a tabletop. That's what we talk about. Yeah, it's basically that. Anything board games.
Nice. Fucking love board games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and it's so good to be able to lay back and actually fucking swear.
Yes. Bring it on, mate. Say what do you want. They've had the warning at the beginning.
I'm still going to apologise for swearing.
No, not at all.
I know it's habit.
Please don't. I've got no bleeping sound effects, so I can't even cut that out if you do.
Oh, now temptation to stick really bad stuff in.
This is it.
Now, don't be Eric Cartman.
Bring out the worst. God damn it. So obviously, Kerry, if you're the first time being on the show, what we normally do is do a couple of questions and then we go into our top 5s. Do you have a top 5?
Absolutely.
Or was it a hard one for you?
Yes.
The list, by the way.
The list.
Sorry.
Oh, yes. Top 5 is always hard because you suddenly think to yourself, oh, I forgot about that game. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Game. So, yeah, the honourable mentions are going to be high.
Yeah, this is the thing when you hear other people's top 5s and you go, oh, that should have been on my list, or it probably would have made the top 10 or something, but...
Exactly, that's bound to happen. And I know there's going to be someone here which people are going to go, really? But there's reasons, and it's my list.
Yeah, and it's your list, and we don't discriminate here at the M.T.V.B.
Oh, well, I'm not always here, and I will discriminate. So,
that's fair.
If she's wrong, I'll openly say that she's wrong. You know?
At which point we'll have a structured argument, I trust.
I'm sure we will.
Podcast debates, I love it.
Glaring across the table.
This is it.
This will be civil.
Just like, make sure you say the right answer.
I'm
pretty sure it is an actual co-op game.
I'm pretty sure the last time I was here, we did have a bit of an altercation as well. Like, you said something, but you were quite safely over the other side of the table.
This is it, yeah. We're spread out. Yeah. So you can't within reach or anything. So, yeah, let's go into the first question. So, if it doesn't spoil your top 5, what was the first co-op game you actually played?
Ooh. Do you want to take that first, or do you want me to take it first?
You take it first.
Okay. Well, mine's actually a really easy one. because it's actually the first modern board game I ever played.
Okay.
Which was Thanos Rising.
Ooh,
only a few years ago. Well, actually, a fair few more than that now. It's got to be nearly 5 years ago.
I remember
now.
when you posted that up on social media as well, and I was like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
I never even knew this thing existed.
Yeah, exactly. That was literally the first modern board game I'd ever played, and it just happened to be a co-op game, and actually was one of my favourite games for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. It hasn't managed to make it into the top 5 because I've played literally hundreds of games since then.
Nice, very fair. Top 10?
Ooh, possibly.
Okay.
It might be somewhere sort of 11, 12-ish. Not
Okay,
not
that's
100%.
fair. So was this the game that got you back into the hobby?
Without a doubt, yeah. Ian, my former co-host, he badgered me for so long to give modern board games a try. And with my love of Marvel, he knew that was going to be the one to hook me. And it was months.
Sure.
Months of telling me, you've got to play this game. You've got to play this game. You've got to play this game. It's like, no, it's a fucking board game. I'm not a fucking board gamer. I don't play Monopoly and all that crap.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
But you mentioned the M word.
I did.
How dare you, sir?
It has to happen occasionally. And it has to always happen in vengeance. It's
Yeah,
like, no,
sure. Yeah,
no,
as long as not
fucking
in like
game.
as long as you're not supporting it, then that's fine.
Exactly, exactly. And eventually, I was just got so bored at one club. I was like, "Fine, I'll play your fucking game," and I fucking loved it. It was amazing. And yeah, I think I bought it within the week.
So, did you play with a big group of people for it, or
We played with a maximum of 4 players on that,
Okay.
because that was as much as you could do without any kind of promos that they did, because
Right.
it's never had an expansion. So it is a 4-player game, but I absolutely love that game. It started a very expensive hobby, and as you've now had the privilege of seeing
Yep.
half of my collection.
and then some? Jesus Christ!
So yeah, it's spiraled out of control a bit since then, but I don't regret a single thing. And that game will always hold a special place in my heart. You know, I have a bit of a vengeance really against Marvel now in board games, because Thanos
so many
is
of it.
plastered on fucking everything. You know, it's like, this game has a theme. Let's retheme it. Just put Thanos on it. You know, but that game especially will never leave my sort of sentimental favourites. You know, if this was a sentimental list, it's definitely in the top 5.
Sure.
There's no doubt about that for me. But yeah, that was the first one I ever played.
Nice. It's a good choice in that one.
Gone on to.
I still haven't played it myself, but I've seen it.
I will play it again with you, because obviously they've done countless amounts of rethemes of it now. You've got a Harry Potter retheme. There's a really awesome dark DC one as well, which is so good. I've got both of those. They've done a Star Wars retheme, which, as I found out the other day, is a UK exclusive, which
nice.
surprises me.
Wait, that's not UK
It's
exclusive?
a UK exclusive.
And you had me at Star Wars. So.
Yeah, exactly.
We never get exclusives.
I know, especially Star Wars. Like, it's mental.
Wow.
But the one I'm
Thank you,
really
Disney.
interested, there's another one that's come out in the States but hasn't made it here yet, and I'm really interested, which is SpongeBob. It's
Okay.
Plankton Rising.
That could be either sheer brilliance or absolute drivel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying not to.
You were trying not to swear then, weren't you?
I was, yes, I was. That could be so good, but it could be.
Or it could be utter wank.
But the thing is, though, if they got that right, you just have an army of people just humming SpongeBob for a good week.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be an interesting one to look at.
Yeah, I'm genuinely interested to give that one a go. I've got 3 of the 3 of the 5 now. But yeah, I will eventually own all of them. They're all pretty much the same with little bits different in them, but other than that, they're all very good games.
Heads up in advance, I will be humming that theme tune. I will be the guilty party that starts that. And I do not apologise.
So what about you, Kerry?
Oh, I'm certain that there would probably have been a couple beforehand, but the earliest one that I can recall that really ignited something was years and years ago. We're talking at least 10 years. Arkham Horror.
The card game, all right?
It's no, not Arkham Horror. The card game. It was the board game.
Oh, okay.
So you had Arkham Horror, and then you might more commonly know Eldritch Horror.
Yes.
But where Eldritch Horror kind of took elements from a mixture of those sort of themed games that they made.
Right.
Arkham was like one of their first ones. I can't give you years and that, but Arkham was like, I'd say like a longer version, which is really funny to say, of Eldritch Horror. It wasn't as refined as Eldritch Horror.
Right, okay.
So as you probably, because I've used it 4 times already, that word, but long, yeah, it was. I remember it was a very, very, very long game, but it was one of the first games that I played beyond the standard. I know I'm going to say the curse word here. I do apologise. Monopoly.
So I've said it once already. You're okay.
I know, but everyone hates that word. But no. But I must admit, though, Cluedo still has a special place in my heart. So it's just as well it's not a sentimental list. But in terms of co-op, that's the first one that I can have really solid memories for.
Sure.
Despite it being long, that was one of the first games I saw that showed the potential that it could be beyond things like Monopoly and move beyond those sort of standards.
Sure.
So it had a more appealing theme and everything. So I've got to be careful though, because I don't want to cross over into other subjects close and related to my list. But that was like one of the first ones that showed me actually board gaming does have more than just generic. I'm going to kill my brother for spiking me, stealing all my money yet again.
Yeah, for making me pay rent and stuff.
Making me pay rent. I'm your sister, damn it! Stop making me pay rent. But, yes, so that was it really. Yeah.
Cool. I think mine, apart from when I mentioned on Meeple Minded episode when I had that major gap between board gaming as a kid and then back to board gaming now, I think Pandemic would be the one that kind of got me thinking that was co-op, but it's not on my list, so I thought I'd bring it up. Sorry, Board Stupid. I knew you were going to hate me for that one.
Don't worry, I got you covered.
Okay, that's fine then. But no, that was the game that sort of got me back into it, because when I started getting back into it, it was kind of co-op with a hint of social deduction, so I don't actually count that as a co-op unless it's just fully co-op full stop. This is the point of the list that we're going to be doing later. And Pandemic was that one, was like, oh wow, you can actually work as a team and, you know, defeat this situation, whatnot. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun to do it. So, and that's why I have the 10th anniversary edition of it up there.
You like to show that off.
I love showing off.
To be honest, that is gorgeous. It's just, the problem is not enough people play my copy of the normal version, let alone me getting the fancy version.
This is the reason why it's not in my top 5, because we have it, but I barely play it now. Yeah. I mean, I had that moment when I was getting into board games, I played it a lot with friends, but now there's so much more now, and it's a shame that it's just up there collecting dust at the moment.
It had a bit of
but you can paint them as well if you want to, by the way, Kyrie.
It had,
your list of things for me to potentially paint is already getting quite extensive.
This is it now. I'm going to run my bill out in a minute. Run the tab out.
Yeah. No, don't worry, I'll write up the final bill.
Let's see, yeah.
But I think I'll do that after we stop rolling, just in case so you don't faint on
then I'm going to get the bill, yeah. So we've been cutting. Oh.
Well, make him faint and we'll take over. We'll make this an extended version of Meeple Minded.
There we go, exactly.
No. So, James.
Taking over.
No.
Well,
on that note, hello and welcome to the...
You'll have episodes out on Monday and Tuesday now.
Exactly.
So, obviously, next question then. Are co-op games different if you co-op with family or with friends?
I can swing with that one first if you want.
You can swing with that one first, because mine's a very uninteresting answer.
In my books, I must admit, I mostly play with my friends. But in terms of co-op games, I must admit there is a big difference. With family games, it does tend to be a lot of take-backsies.
Yeah.
A lot of, we got that rule wrong. We played half the game of it, let's just ignore that rule. Whereas with mates...
Or family members make up rules.
Yep, that happens too. The number of times I didn't realise I was playing with a house rule, and it turns out it was a very illegal move in the game, very clearly written in big black red letters in the rule book. It's like, whoopsie. But to be honest, that makes it half the fun with the family ones.
Sure.
It's more of like that easy banter and sitting down for an evening and doing something a bit out of the norm. Whereas when you're playing with your mates, I'm not going to lie, like 90%, maybe even more of that of my mates are board gamers.
Yeah. Sure.
So I have the advantage of either all my mates or I know the rules. But also, we also know we don't want to be the one who has to then be ripped into for not reading the rule book properly.
That's why I always let someone else do it.
Yes, I noticed. the number of times I've had to politely go, Jason, you missed the last sentence on that one.
You want to get through the reading of the rule book as quick as possible. If it just means skipping a couple of lines here and there, what does it matter?
But then we don't have to take backseat rule. Take backseat rule, and even though it's a co-op game, actually, to be fair, I think that's the only time we sometimes get away with it. It's like, that's the difference between winning or losing.
So what you're saying is that you can get away with hidden rules with family, but not with friends because they know the rules.
Exactly. Or have to face the wrath of them going, you messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. That would be like, hey, Kyrie, you done with this? Hey, you remember got yes? And then we wait for the opportunity to throw it straight back at them. There's a malice that you don't have with family.
Yeah,
as such.
sure.
Yeah, I think I would echo most of the things that Kyrie said there. I genuinely don't play games with the family because they're just not really into it. But on the odd occasions that I have, it's so different playing with friends as opposed to family. Like you said, that you tend to be a bit more lenient with the whole take backsies, with bending the rules a little bit to try and get them engaged in the games and stuff like that. But when I'm running the clubs, or if we're playing games with my usual group, Kyrie is a member of my very close gaming friends. We play multiple times a week.
Yes.
And, no takes backsies. If you've touched the cube and change your mind, tough shit.
Yeah.
But I must admit, I do like the rule of if it's your first time playing the game, you do have the take backsies, but it's only for that first game.
The let off, basically.
Yeah.
I let them do it once. That's it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just the
Takes
once and that's
backsies
it.
Once.
Yeah, you're less lenient than I am in that account.
Yeah, this is very true. I'm an arsehole.
Not an arsehole.
That might come to my next one of my questions later on. So, with the co-op games, do you think it's interesting that they throw in a traitor mechanic sometimes?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, I love traitor mechanics. I get really angry if a co-op game doesn't have a traitor mechanic.
Oh, really?
I like fucking things up.
Fair enough.
I love co-op games because it's great fun to play as a team, but I love fucking my team over more.
Sure.
So traitor mechanics get a massive plus from me.
You get a 2 thumbs up.
Glee on your face when you think, it's so funny whenever you get a new board game, Jason, because when you're reading through the rule book, I'm thinking, my God, he's reading the rule book.
Yeah.
And then I just watch as his face falls as he goes, there's no traitor mechanic.
Yeah. Scouring the book for one single word.
And then you just hold up the piece of paper, which is separate with the variant rules, traitor mechanic, and he literally lights up even more than a kid at Christmas. Yeah. It's absolutely hilarious to witness.
Where we were playing Marvel United with your good self.
So that's why you grabbed the instructions. And
I was looking at the instructions that had the traitor mechanic, ran out the shop, screaming with glee, and went, "There's a fucking traitor mechanic!"
Oh, that makes sense now.
For context, we'd played a game. We'd played a couple of games. And Jason was really enjoying it. We all absolutely loved it the other week when we all got the chance to play it.
Yeah.
And then Jason running out of the shop, shaking this little piece of paper saying, "Villain, variant, traitor, variant," shaking this booklet in front of my face. And it's just, I just wanted to go, there, child. There.
Calm down.
Calm down. Timmy, calm down.
Do you know what? I thought he grabbed it and to go, look at this piece of shit and how they're trying to throw in a traitor mechanic now. I thought he was dissing it. I didn't realise he was over the moon for it.
No, he was so giddy. It was just, it almost looked like he'd been on an espresso. It just ends up beep.
Yeah, if I can screw over a game, I'm damn well going to do it, even if I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
If you play a co-op game with me, don't expect to win, because I'll play
but
the game.
What if you're not the traitor in that game?
Well, I'll bloody well make myself the traitor.
To be fair, that has happened before, where Jason can admit this as well, where he has also not been the traitor, but has made himself so suspicious that the traitor has then had a very easy time because everyone just thinks it's Jason.
Straight away, it's Jason.
And I still class that as a victory for me.
So when you're trying to play the hidden traitor, it doesn't come off well when Jason's the traitor then. It's like, you can tell. Is that the case?
Well, you can if it's a singular one. However, sometimes there's been like a very recent memory, such as, I'm sorry if this crosses onto anyone's top 5, Hail Hydra.
Not at the moment.
Where Jason was absolutely giddy because he was playing the villain and he as one of the Hydra agents. and he was hiding, and he was trying to protect a player who hadn't played the game as much at all. And it was so obvious that Jason was the traitor.
Okay.
That we were trying to decide, and he literally watched me as the entire evening as I was drumming my fingers on the bench, just watching him like a hawk, going, "I'm sure you are, but you've made it too obvious."
That's what I love about that. It's just the question is like, with all traitor mechanics, it's like, are you making it too obvious, or are you protecting someone? Or what, like you just said, it's just, I love having that feeling of, is it not, you know?
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I know you and me have a love of social deduction games, and it plays into the traitor mechanic. As people always say, when it comes to games, I am a fucking fantastic liar.
Yeah.
And it is very difficult for people to actually figure out when I'm lying. It's gotten to a point that, you know, people know how I love to be a traitor, so they will sort of automatically suspect me. But I had this discussion with James the other day when we were playing, I think it was Hell Hydra, I can't actually...
Which one? Describe it.
Oh no, we were playing Bristol 1350, which
yes.
has a social deduction element to
Okay.
it. And it is technically a co-op game, because you are trying to get out the city together, but it's not really a co-op game. It wouldn't go on my list because it's not an official co-op game.
Fair enough.
But
I'm glad you're here for that.
he suspected me as having the plague. But that's the...
is that the game? Right.
The game, yeah.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
if
for
you...
actual context in the game, and for anyone who hasn't heard about this game, it is literally all on different carts, and there's potential that one of you has the plague, depending on cards you get.
Okay, right.
And then the whole point is you're trying to make sure you don't get booted off and left behind in the plague-ridden city. But also, if you have got the plague, you want to stay on the cart to escape, but it kind of means that you're going to win, but you're going to take... But
the plague's going to spread, yeah.
Yeah, if when the cart leaves, you're healthy, but if anyone in your cart has got the plague, you lose.
Exactly.
You just automatically get the plague as you leave the city.
And then the person who's got the plague just kind of wants to just take as many people with them as they can.
And we sort of covered it on an episode we did when we were talking about the game, and James knows me incredibly well. You know, he knows most of my mannerisms, but again, when it comes to games like this, he finds it very, very difficult to actually figure if I'm a traitor, if I'm lying, and all that kind of stuff. I just sort of, when it comes to social deduction games,
is it even worth playing with him then?
Switch it on.
Oh, it's great fun because you then get to see them sweat, because he wants to almost be taken on as the villain, and James has to then sit there going, is he messing with me or has he actually got it? And it's lovely watching. It's absolutely hilarious.
So it's just it's the fact that you love toying with him. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Toying is such a polite way of putting it.
Yes.
I know what's gone through this guy's brain. I can see the cheeky look in his eyes.
Fair enough.
Yes, he likes messing with people.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can definitely say that 100% without having to clarify, without having to confirm with him, because it's absolutely true.
I like to think that the way I play co-op games, whether there is or isn't a traitor mechanic, it makes the game more fun, because I add another element to that game of, is he like actually helping us, or is he fucking us over for no apparent reason? You know?
Although I must admit there are other games which, again, if I've touched anyone's top 5 here, but I must admit there are also some games when it's the hidden traitor, which in and of itself adds another element which is worth mentioning, because sometimes you can have a pure co-op game, but you're not aware that everyone is playing on the same team.
Sure.
So such example is Dead of Winter. So Dead of Winter.
I love that game.
I love that game. It's not on my top 5. Maybe it should be.
Yeah, it's in my top 10, but not the 5. Yeah.
But no. But in terms of because it can actually technically be a truly co-op game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But because you can have the variant of the hidden traitor, if they're not being too obvious, you then can, and you've still got your own private secret objective. You can then do some things which help your own private objective, but they then look highly suspicious.
Yeah.
So then you have to be doing the automatic, no, I'm not.
So why are you carrying all that medicine and not doing anything about it?
And it's like, no reason. And then it's just like medic. I can't remember what the actual card is when they need the medicine. But yes, it's that sort of idea. So even if it's not a direct, like a team versus one, but just a hidden one in itself adds to a game. But of course, I do like it when it's not forcing people to have a traitor to make the game. Yeah,
because especially with Dead of Winter, you can have it, but it still might not even get picked at the end of the day. So, but there's still that element of like, you know, Jason, why aren't you clearing out the trash? Why are you not feeding these survivors?
Exactly.
You know? But that might be just like you say, we all, on that game, you all have your own objective as well as the game. So, yeah, I love how it just gives you that sense of feeling that.
But it also adds to the element of it. It adds conversation. It instantly means that you can have a banter, or you can bring up previous games where someone's done something fishy, like, oh, I trusted you last game and you were the traitor. How do I know it's not the same instance this time?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of elements of that, and with a purely like outsider looking out, you know, looking in sort of view, it really is one of those. It's a good way to keep the conversations going and keeping people engaged, because it means that people then are doing social deduction, which is always really good fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, just it adds an element, but it's something that it's nice that it's not something when it completely depends upon it.
It's nice how it brings it to the table and it doesn't actually, like you say, destroy that co-op element to it. Exactly. It's just it's really good. So forget the traitor mechanic for a minute. Just a basic co-op game, all right? How competitive do you guys get when it comes to co-op games?
I'll let you go first.
This is going to sound so generic. It entirely depends on who you play with.
Okay.
But if you are with a group of gamers who already know the game, who already know, you know, how it all works and all the sneaky maneuvers you can try and do, it does get highly competitive, especially if you're in with some groups. So lots of my friends are highly competitive. Yeah. They have to win. It's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
But it is one of those things of they have to win. Me, I don't mind as long as we've done the best we can. But I'm not going to lie. When I like it when a game dicks you over. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, don't worry about it, honestly.
But I love it when a game dicks you over, because then it means that you can be just as brutal and not feel bad about it. Because it does also depend on the game, because some games which
I was about to say, because you've brought up the people you play with.
Yes.
Is it not necessarily the game you play at all, or...?
Oh, it's a mix. It's a mix, because sometimes you really do want to just play with a certain group of people, and sometimes it's good to go for those games which aren't you competing directly with them.
Yeah,
and you have to work together. So it's really nice to force all of those minds to work on one problem. I would say the competitiveness does have one downside, you can argue, which is where sometimes if someone can like break down the game that much, or they become so convinced that their idea is correct, it can mean it kind of like sheep, like a shepherd and a sheep.
Yeah.
And it can kind of like herd people into, we do it this way. So that's the potentially one downside, but that's the advantage of co-op games, because they're meant to be co-op. So
sure.
So yeah. So it is interesting, as long as people go into a game aware that it's meant to be cooperative discussion or whatever type of game is. But it's nice when that can happen.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's annoying when you've got that idea in your before your turn. You're like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then you've got that super competitive player in your group who's like, and do this and that, and then we can do this. But hang about, let me think for a sec. That's why, I don't mind playing with competitive people, but when you've got that set mind frame, when you're like, I'm going to do this, and then someone goes, well, no, if you do that instead, it kind of just like puts me off it a little bit. Yeah, but I still enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but I see what you're saying.
But that's just one of those things that happens with co-ops. It's a risk. Yeah. It is a risk, but at the same time, it is also.
But then, like you said, it's the players as well who you pick.
But where there are so many games which are player versus player, it's nice having the option for it to be a true co-op.
Totally, yeah.
So it's nice that you can have lots of games which can do that. So yeah.
Yeah, I was, in all honesty, for me, I'm not super competitive when it comes to co-op games, and
you just want to play.
I just want to play, and that's the thing though. It's like I've always viewed games as they're there for my fun. Yeah, you know. I can get competitive if I need to, but for the most part, it's like, no, I just want to have fun. If I want to get competitive, there's 1,000,001 different player versus player games.
Does it involve a pug that looks like you?
Well,
to get competitive.
Yeah. This is very true.
But thankfully, that is not on this list. That is not in this subject.
No, that should have gone on the card game list.
Yes, it should.
It should.
Definitely.
You hadn't played it, though,
but I hadn't played it though.
At that time,
the episode's months old anyway.
But this is the handy thing about lists. Lists are your own personal opinion.
Yeah, and they change constantly as well.
Exactly. You haven't played all the games out there. So obviously you give a list for at the time. But I can guarantee tomorrow morning I wake up and go, no, I forgot about this one.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I mean, my list, as I said to you earlier, is that my list has changed. I mean, since that I said 3 earlier, it's changed about 5 times since. But it's now gone back to the list that I told you, I was talking to you about earlier.
Oh, okay.
So it changes all the time for me, and it's one of the most annoying things about coming up with lists is they're only valid for the time that you make them.
Yeah.
They will change tomorrow. They'll change in an hour. They'll probably change before we even get to the
They'll change when the new
top
Kickstarter
fives.
comes out.
Exactly.
Yes, that
Exactly.
is another element.
What game have I been playing a lot recently? Oh, hang on a minute. That's fresh in my mind. That's going to be on the list. It really...
Yeah.
It's great. I love doing lists, but it is always with that caveat of this is going to change.
Yeah.
It's not...
That's why you always warn the public first that it will change next week or something. But that's what I love about
this whole
them.
thing of, it's your top 5 of all time.
No.
No. Take the of all time part out and we can talk.
Just the top 5.
But yeah, if you add that of all time thing, it's like, I can't tell you the top 5 games of all time because 1, my opinion will be different from yours.
Yes.
2, my opinion will be different from my own opinion in about 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's
5 minutes, so generous.
And that will be, and that's the same with every subject on this podcast. You top 5 movies of all time, top 2. It'll be different from everyone, and someone will have, oh, really? You like that? Oh, you like that? Oh.
I'm genuinely interested when we get to our top 5s because I think this is going to be one of the few lists that you may well have done where we all have very, very different types of games.
That's good though, because
I think there'll be some crossover, but
I think that's good though, because then it gets to know, it lets people know these are out there, give them a try. I mean, when people listen to your show as well as mine and hear all these recommendations, people actually do it. And I get feedback saying, oh, when Jason mentioned Power Rangers in the last episode, I played that, and it's, I'm buying every expansion under the sun for it and whatnot.
Ooh.
So
congratulations to whoever did that.
Whoever did that as well. So, but no, that's what I love doing these top 5s. Like I said, they're not of all time, but it gets the information out there to people that these games are there.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the last question, which might be a little bit tough for you guys, but I'll give it a go anyway. So which type of co-op game do you prefer? Do you like co-op board games, co-op card games, or co-op app-based games? Which do you prefer?
Okay, I'll suck it up and take this one first because I think Kiri's going to need a bit longer to think about this one. I'll start by saying I can safely say you will never hear me say that I enjoy a co-op or just app-based game, full stop. I detest app compatibility with board games.
Okay.
I play board games to get away from a screen, not to continue using it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I understand with some games it's kind of integral to it, so it's not something I will slate people for enjoying, but for me, it's a big no-no. So that one's easy. I can get out of that.
That was an easy one.
But when it comes, if I really had to pick between them, it then becomes very difficult because one of my favourite games of all time, I can't remember if it's in my list or not, so I'm not going to say the name, is actually a co-op card game. Ooh. However, I think if I weigh up how many co-op card games I like over how many co-op board games I like, the board games are far, far higher. There's more of them.
Sure, of course.
So I would probably just come in and say, I think it's going to be co-op board games over the others. So, yeah, co-op board games for me.
That's actually a tough question again. Because also quite often with co-op board games, they tend to incorporate a lot of cards. So obviously, there's always going to be crossovers like miniatures games and all of that. Some people argue that's a miniatures game. Well, no, it's also this. So there's a lot of crossovers.
Oh yeah, we've had those debates, haven't we, recently?
Did I just touch a nerve? Yes.
Well, James is not here. Sorry, James.
Let's pose.
He kind of put me in my place last week. Damn it!
Let's just pose that question to the listeners of your podcast.
This is it.
Is Marvel United a card game or a miniatures game?
Leave a comment below.
Or a board game.
I'm just going to be the neutral party and go, it can be both, people.
Thank you.
It can be both.
It can be both.
I know I've probably just made an enemy of James for saying that, but
Possibly
can be both. Please don't judge me. I see the look. But no.
We can make that a people-minded episode, mate. The big debate. Yeah. Is it card game or is it board game based? I'd love to do that. That'd be awesome. Sorry, Kiri.
No. There's no. I love it. But no. It's difficult. I'm going to be on the similar vein to Jason here. With there are a lot more co-op board games, but I'm also going to be more firmly in the category of it's going to be equally card games and board games, which will become apparent later.
That's mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that pretty much does it for the questions. If you guys want to throw something in, if not, we'll just go straight to the top fives.
Well, I'll pose a single question to you.
Please.
What is your personal opinion as to what defines a co-op game, or what defines a co-op tabletop game?
I believe it's a game where you work as a team to defeat that specific objective. In my opinion, but I could be wrong. Again, I'm a noob to the board game based situation. I'm trying to think of an example here. Like Pandemic, for example. I can't really go into other ones because it might be in my top 5 list.
I mean,
but it's usually, like I said, a group of friends or family want not to defeat the specific object of the game. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know.
I would say you're right. I mean, the best thing about the way you've worded this particular podcast is it is a generic term. It's not, we're talking about top co-op board games. It's just co-op games. So it can be card, it can be board, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we talked about the traitor mechanic.
Yeah.
Some would argue that that's not really a true co-op game then, is it? It was it is.
Yeah.
This
is it,
it's a very, very broad term, and I'm so happy when you actually announced it's just going to be co-op.
Yeah.
The genre of co-op, so that has really opened me up to being able to put games in here that may or may not require...
I've done my research right then.
And that's spot on as well. Exactly the same opinion here, because otherwise my list would be very different if it was pigeonholed.
Yeah, totally.
So it's good. This is going to be an interesting one, I think.
Yeah. Kind of put me on the spot. I was like, please say it right.
Yeah, I like.
But you know what? I was actually going to start with that question. I was actually going to start with that. I thought, do you know what? These guys know what co-op games are. Why am I going to ask them that question? But yeah, I'm glad you asked me. And I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah.
I must admit, it was quite fun seeing you sweat. But
you know what? He's like, he put me in the place. I'm like, oh shit. Example. Give me an example. But then I didn't want to throw one of my guys in. That was the thing.
You just edit it out anyway.
No, I don't edit anything.
Oh dear God. I am doomed.
So, anything else? If not,
no, I think we're ready. You need to get to the top 5s because otherwise I'm going to change it while we're sat here. So.
And I will do the same. So I'll go by this list and lose a lot of cred and respect points with Jason, and I imagine some of my board game friends. But it's my list.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get criticised on mine. So, but hey, it's our lists. Let's do this. Yeah,
let's do it.
It's time for a top 5. Number 5.
So, who would like to go first?
Ooh. Do we have a D's?
I don't mind going first, but then you guys will need to decide how it goes around the table afterwards.
Go on, you go first, I'll go second, Kyrie can go last. I'll be generous to the newbie.
Oh, dear God.
I say we let the newbie sweat and go first.
Oh, go on then, you're the host.
No. I'll go first, then Jason, then you, Fred, yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so my number 5 is the newest game I have as a co-op game, and that is Roll Camera, which is a board game about making movies.
Yes, I've heard. I think you've talked about this on the show before, haven't you?
Yeah. I've brought it up slightly, but yeah, this is a game that I think working as a team goes down really well. Mm-hmm. And it literally is everything to make a movie, from your script to your sets to your filming to the quality of the film to the title of the film. If anyone doesn't know what Roll Camera is, you basically have a group of friends. I think it's 1 to 4, but if you want a challenge, you can go up to 6 players. Depending on the difficulty you use, you can either have a certain amount of money and a certain amount of schedule. And basically, you have to make this film within the schedule or money. If any of those goes down to 0, you've lost the game. And it could be other things like how I want the movie to sound like, and how much of the film is going to go into the movie, and how we're going to edit it later on, all through a roll of the dice and placing it on the board. You talk to your friends and like, how about we start with this, and how about we start with that? And it can be simple things like, I think last time we played it, the movie title was The Long Lost Love of Two Cousins, or something like that.
What the heck?
Yeah. Basically, so when you have the script, you have it in 2 halves, and you pick it randomly to put on the board, and it will come up with a title. And obviously, you guys can either pick if you want to change it or not. That's one thing you can do. And like I said, you can build sets. But then you have to. So again, sorry. It's done by a roll of a dice, and you place the dice onto the certain parts of the board. But you have to talk to your guys because you only have a certain amount of dice. And then by that next turn, you can leave it there for the next player to try and get that roll onto the dice and onto the board to do other things to make your movie. Nice. And it pretty much is as simple as that, but it's just the pressure of, do I spend this amount of money to do this? Do I use this amount of schedule to do this? And it's so... annoying because your schedule is essentially your turns as you go around the table. So if you don't keep building that up, not many people are going to get turns, and then you might get some people going, "Well, I'm not going to get my turn now because the schedule's going to run out or the budget's going to go." Blah, blah, blah. It's just so much fun how you talk around one another and like, all right, well, if I do this, you do that, and then if you do this, you do that.
That sounds more diplomatic than probable actual filming.
Yeah, and I just love it. It's like, again, there's no traitor mechanic, anything like that at all. But every time you start a game, you start with a problem. So it's either your choice to deal with that problem or deal with your movie. And that's what I love about it, because if you don't deal with that, then you've got to pass it to the next person, and it gets worse and worse. And yeah, it's just so much fun. I highly recommend it if you ever get a chance. And it's so quick as well. It's like 45 minutes, half an hour to 45 minutes, if that.
Now, is this the actual 45 minutes and it's what it says?
No, literally, it is, because, like I said, your schedule can be like the next 8 turns. Unless you don't build on that, then you're only going to get 8 turns. Yeah. So you have to work as a team to move that schedule up and get more turns.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I really like the sound of that game, and I'm not going to lie, while you were talking about it, I had expansions going through my mind. And
mate, I'd love them to be.
You could easily install a traitor mechanic and call it like troublesome actors.
Yeah.
Like,
this is the thing, yeah.
Troublesome actors, no. Sabotage.
Sabotage. And you'll say you get all these different roles as a player. You can be a director, producer, cinematographer, all that sort of stuff. And then you can hold production meetings, come up with new ideas to help you build your sets, and you can get the quality of your film can go up, all that sort of stuff. Just so much fun, and I highly recommend it if you ever get a chance. Quick and easy. That's my number 5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be. We're going to have a game night soon. We've got so many of my games you want to play, so many of yours
exactly.
I want to play.
And like I said, that's quick and easy to learn, and that's another reason why I like it. It's simply like you roll this, roll that, and then let's build on this and build on that. That is essentially the game.
Yeah,
simple, and it's a lot of fun. And hopefully, we can try and get it in a night where we do one of yours and one of mine or whatever.
Definitely.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. I look forward to playing that. I am not 100% that my number 5 is going to appear on possibly Ant's list. Here we go. Let's give it a go. My number 5 is the newest game on my list, and it is from the Games Masters over at Call Mini or Not. It is the alien blasting, nail biting, dice rolling clusterfuck that is Project Elite.
It's not on there now.
Oh, okay, cool. That's good. We were talking about this before
going
live. Had to sort of hide the fact that it was on my top 5.
See, when you said that, I thought you hadn't actually played it.
I have indeed played it. I played it with Wayne, the
Board Stupid
podcast. So, going to cost me more money. Thank you, Wayne. But, yeah, I really love that game. Like, when me and Wayne played, I was on the best dice rolling spree I've ever had.
Yeah.
I was just blatting everything that could come at us, and me and Wayne worked incredibly well as a team. He wasn't rolling as good a dice as I was at the time. He was doing his fair share of blatting the aliens, but he was mainly able to go around and get all the objectives while I was literally just sitting there pumping lead.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just so much fun. I love destruction. I love death. I've never been a huge fan of the whole alien genre, which I'm kind of coming around to that a little bit more now.
That's why I'm surprised it's in your list. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and I even said when I played it, the theme is not totally integral to the game. Like, you could easily replace aliens with zombies.
Sure.
So it's not like the theme is super duper amazing, but it's so good, so well done. Call Mini or Not are just really knocking it out of the park at the moment, and it is high on my list to buy. It's in a couple of shopping carts at the moment.
It's in the wish list.
It's in the wish list. Just waiting for payday, really, which has now come, so it's now dangerously close to being actually purchased. But, I love Project Elite. It had to go on my list. It sort of dropped off when I was umming and ahhing as to whether to put it on there, because I've only played it a couple of times. But do you know what? The fun I had is going to be there for a little while.
That 2-minute time limit is such a great idea. And I have to admit, I actually bought it, and then Wayne had bought it, right? Mm-hmm. But then I hadn't actually learned how to play it. So when Wayne had it, I went to his, played it, and learned how to play it. So again, thank you, Wayne, for doing that. But yeah, it's just, when he did that, and I couldn't get used to the whole thing with the pressure and you got the timer going and all that sort of stuff, and it's just
it's also the funness of
so
everyone
good.
frantically rolling dice.
Yeah.
Going, I'm doing this, and it's just like, well, bollocks, I just do this.
This is it. Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. Yet somehow after the 2 minutes, it's like, oh, fuck me, we actually did it.
My only downside to it is that you can't really watch if anyone is doing what their role should be doing.
Yeah.
That's my only down. But I freaking love that game. Yeah. It should have been in my top 5, but definitely my top 10. But yeah, I would never expect that to go on yours.
There you go. I do throw a curveball every now and again. So
I need to show you the minis on the expansion. You'll love them. Kyrie would be so tempted to paint them. Good God.
Oh God, my own stuff's already piled high, let alone anybody else's. Oh dear.
I will ask you a question, but we'll wait until after the top 5s about that.
Pressure.
It's the compare whether you prefer that to another game, but
when you hear the top 5, you might know your answer.
It may well be. I think I'll get my answer, but yeah, we'll wait. Kyrie,
I'm about to lose my credibility among my mates, but there's a good reason for it. My number 5, because I feel it had to go on this list, is Pandemic.
Oh, there we go.
It's not. I'm going to start off straight off the bat. I haven't played it for a while. It is, as you said earlier, it does gather dust, and I admit my copy is...
I admit I really should get back on it, but I think the last time I probably played it was the Iberia version, around Wayne's. Again, beautiful looking game.
I really want to try the Cthulhu version, but the reason I said the base game is there's a very strong chance that people have heard of this game if they've had any interest in the hobby. And there's a good reason for that. In my books, in case people don't know, it's for 2 to 4 players, if memory serves.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's for 2 to 4 players, and it throws a really unique, interesting puzzle at you, and it has a random chance of bad luck as well. You can, and it's very variable. You can make it harder, you can make it easier, depending on how much you want to do.
Sure.
For those who don't know, effectively, you are trying to save the world from a pandemic. I know, of course, everything going on, that's a little bit of a touchy subject, but effectively, you're trying to cure 4 diseases. You're meant to cure and eradicate, if you want to make it harder for yourself, 4 diseases. And you need to stop it spreading and having massive outbreaks and identify these cures. I won't go into too much detail because I gather...
You pretty much said it all, really, yeah.
Pretty much. And it's really fun because each person gets to choose a role, and each role has its own benefits, its own uses. Some, I must admit, have to be in a game, which can be its downside, which is why it is low on my list. Because once you get used to the game, you get used to the puzzle, you can find a way to quickly break it, which is why it's low on my list. But as a gateway game, for people, I've played this game frequently with non-board gamers, and this has been that game which has helped them go, oh, I really like board games. So that's why it had to go on my list, because it is one of those games where even non-board gamers, if come over holidays or anything like that, with family, it's one of those games I can persuade them to play. I don't think I'll do it this Christmas, ironically, just because of everything going down.
We should save it for a few Christmases, maybe.
but it's a bit of a raw subject. But no, but just because it is that gateway game, it's a really interesting puzzle. Everyone has a role, everyone has their uses, and it's a really interesting debate because all of the turns, you aren't fixed. It's you decide what you're going to do with your actions. So that's another element, that flexibility, that teamwork, which for me is very appealing, especially if it's a co-op game. So yes, I hope I don't lose too much cred among the board gamers, but that's why it has to be on my list.
No, that's fine. It's on Jason's, I believe.
It is actually on my list. Believe it or not,
it's a clash already.
It is. It is
God,
my.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know his list. He changed it about 5 times from our conversation. So yes.
Yeah. So that's actually my number 4. And my opinions when it comes to Pandemic is it's not the best game ever.
No.
For me, it isn't really worthy, in my personal opinion, of my top 5. However, you've sort of semi-touched on it there. Pandemic, I always refer to it as one of the granddaddies of modern board gaming.
Yes.
And because of that, it is deserving of a part on the list. Now, I would much rather play one of the Pandemic variants, be it Iberia, the Cthulhu version. They are both far superior to the original game. However, if it wasn't for that original game, that original Matt Leacock game, those wouldn't exist. And it spawned it spawned one of my favourite co-op games, which again isn't on the list. It was very close to being on the list, which was Thunderbirds.
Oh,
Nice.
yes, of course.
Which was Thunderbirds war game.
I
It
must
is
admit-
basically Pandemic.
I must admit, I thought that was going to be on your list. I thought that was what you were going to touch on.
It was very, very
I must
close.
admit.
I can safely say it came to number 6.
Ah.
That's as
Ooh, okay.
It got to number 6, that one. So that's a fantastic game. Honourable mention straight away.
Nice.
But yeah, Pandemic, because of the legacy it's created,
Exactly.
the fact that it can sit on a shelf next to the dreaded games that we won't mention anymore, and actually stand a chance of actually being purchased, especially in the past 2 years.
Absolutely.
Like I've heard so many people talking about playing the game while in lockdown. It's like, do you know what? And reopening the clubs and seeing new blood coming in and go,
Yeah, exactly.
I got back into it over lockdown because we were playing like Pandemic. It's like, holy shit, this game has done something that we have been trying to do for years, and that is get hold of those people that have left the hobby but are still, it's in there. It's in the brain that they need to come back, and it's done that. And because of that, it has my respect, and it is my number 4.
And
A lot of people prefer the legacy versions to that as well, don't they?
yes, they do.
But I just want to ask you guys about Pandemic. So one of the reasons my group sort of put it aside for a while was that, I don't know if you've ever noticed it yourselves, I'm sure you have, but do you ever notice that if you play with a certain set of specific characters, you can smash it quite easily?
That's,
That was the only downside to Pandemic for me, but like you said, you can't not talk about co-op and not bring up Pandemic.
Yeah.
The one problem with a puzzle game is there are some combinations which are more lethal than others. And I touched upon my explanation. That is one of the downsides, which is where it is on this, because it is effectively a puzzle. And those combinations, there will be some characters, if you don't take them into the game, you are kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because they are not overpowered, but they are a necessity.
Yeah.
So the medic, sorry, I got distracted. There was a lightning flash. There was just expecting that. Sorry.
The medic.
The medic, yes. So the medic is kind of a necessity, because effectively, if you find a cure, you literally walk around, you walk into a place, and it cures as
The whole lot.
You literally just go, oh, boom, oh, boom. So that is the one downside to it. But again, as both me and Jason have said, it really is one of those games which I feel like it would have been a disservice if it wasn't mentioned, but because we play so many games which are co-op, which are competitive, or co-op and a mixture of it, that it's quite hard, but it really would have been a disservice if it wasn't mentioned.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So yes, because it's not the best game, but in turn, because there is such a lovely variety, it's really good. But to get people into it, that's why I had to go in. I said earlier, it got me into it at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, and it got my friends into it as well, and the rest is history, pretty much.
Doing
podcasts on it, for crying out loud.
But it just illustrates the point that a game doesn't have to be the best game. It doesn't have to have the prettiest pieces, of course, excluding the new edition.
Of course, yeah. But to get people involved, that's what board gaming is pretty much about, just to get people onto it. And
I suppose you could also make the argument, because it's something that they can relate to their real world, because it's a map of the world. It's a map of the world, effectively, all these locations, and also free geography lesson.
Yes. I hate getting that kind of like, and you can't pronounce it.
That's most of the cards. The number of times people go, what?
Tie what?
Oh, don't.
But you get that one. Like, oh, London!
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Easy. Bosh.
But no, it just means it's also got that accessibility, because people, they can picture it. It's there. It's the planet. We're saving the planet, guys. So it's something that people can also relate to, which I think is another good point to make.
It's a traitor mechanic.
That is in an expansion, and you know it.
It is indeed.
Is it really?
Yes,
it is.
I didn't know that.
There are lots of expansions to Pandemic. I have got them all, and I have yet to find a person willing to play them, and I think I just tapped Jason.
Oh, I'm interested in the traitor one. There was such a thing for Pandemic.
It's
so good.
I haven't played it, so that's my full open card disclosure, the full disclosure there. But effectively, someone becomes a bioterrorist.
Okay.
And what happens is they are actively trying to mutate the virus into being something stronger, so to resist
like a T-virus from Resident Evil.
And I'm not going to lie, when I bought that expansion, hoping to play it, and nobody wanted to play it because everyone had moved on from Pandemic.
Sure.
They, it's the one that's really interesting variants, and there's a lot of variants. So even if you play it and you figure out the puzzle, they found ways to expand the puzzle, which is also why it gets mentioned here. But I wasn't going to talk about expansions too much. Whoops.
That's another episode.
That's a different. Oh God. Oh dear. That would be a long list.
It's an interesting list though, because not many people really like expansions that much, but
depends on the expansion. But that's a different subject.
Yes,
let's not tangent onto that.
That'll be on another episode in M.T.V.B. or Meeple Minded even.
There is one of those in the pipeline.
Here we go. See,
I need to get James up to speed first.
Oh dear, poor James.
Just for the record, he was meant to be here today.
Yes, he was.
But,
yes,
he's got a bit of a dicky belly by the sounds of things. So
so we'll get him on again another time.
Hey, I am the shoe-in. I am the shoe-in.
That's it. An actual female. I mean, if this does well, I might need to keep bringing Kyrie back for female audiences.
And with an hour's notice as well. I think she's doing incredibly well.
I think she's doing bang good job, mate.
Thank you very much. I've been absolutely terrified, but I thought to myself, you know what? I wanted to do a podcast.
But you need to get a few swear words out of you, then you'll be comfortable.
No, I will still be apologetic.
I've been trying that for years.
You can get them, but no, I must admit, I don't like having a potty mouth.
Yeah.
So some good number 5s there. We're going to go to the number 4s.
Number 4.
So my number 4 is, you could say, is a pandemic-esque game, but it's with the Universal movie monsters, and that is Horrified.
Yes. As soon as you said that, I knew what you were going to say. That is such a good game.
It is such a good game.
Good choice. I forgot about that. That's really annoying.
Number 7 for me.
It's a number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7.
We're doing good at finding everyone's top 10.
We're doing well. We're not like clashing. Well, apart from Pandemic was one, but apart from that, we're doing pretty well. Oh, yeah, so Horrified. If anyone doesn't know what it is, it's essentially, like you said, to do with the Universal movie monster, which is like Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy, all centered around within a village. You can choose which monsters you want to go up against. Each certain monster needs to be killed in a certain way, which you can talk amongst yourselves as a team. You could be saving villages, you could be picking up items, you could be destroying things, you could be rescuing villagers, directing them to certain places, but then you're also moving all the monsters around. At the same time, they're getting in your way, as well as, send you to the hospital, whatnot, and moving up that terror marker. I really enjoy this game. It's, again, very simple, very easy to learn. It is sometimes a bit of a bitch to play, depending on what monsters you pick, obviously. The Frankenstein and the Bride one is so annoying because you kind of have to deal with both of them, and they're not allowed to connect with one another, and it's just, it's a bit of a...
But we have to clarify, these are not the modern reimaginings of these creatures. These are the
original classics.
Original classics.
Yes.
And that's the best part of it, though, is the classics. Part.
But it has to be that if you don't know what we're talking about in terms of the classic monster movies, my goodness, you have to at least look them up because they are a treat.
And they're 90 years old now, this film's out as well.
Yeah.
So
even though that they're all, I know we're touching upon films here when we're meant to be talking
No.
films, but the older films, yes, they will make you laugh, but think about the artistry.
Mm-hmm. And if they weren't around...
And
what would
it's
we
not
have?
Computers. These were done by people who doing artistry, and I'm going to
costumes,
and the actual costumes, and these were all done by people. This isn't, we've become so used to computerized.
Yep, absolutely.
That seeing something real, it's absolutely fantastic, and but that's what makes it such a good theme for the board games. Because so many people, well, at least lots of the younger generation. They might be aware of the classic ones, but they don't have the context. And okay, it's a little goofy. It's one of those corny sort of like themes and settings and all of that. But when you get to play a board game, there's something really unique about getting to have a chance to encounter the classic.
Yeah.
They aren't the pansy versions. They aren't, oh, woe is me, Gerationize. It's not that. These are the scary monsters. They may seem very basic in terms of like some of their
absolutely,
but as a theme, that the game is very unique. I haven't seen very many games do that, I must admit.
And it's the thing, when they released it, I was like, no one's going to like this game because no one's into the old, movie monsters things. I mean, exactly.
It's one of the best-selling games of the past couple of years.
I mean, recently it's been like sold out or overpriced in a lot of places now.
But that's actually, in my books, a really good thing because it means because people understand that that there's quality. As for the game itself, yes, there are some very occasionally annoying mechanics, but just the theming, and you get to do something like you're in it's kind of like you're in a classic film.
Yes.
And you're playing as the heroes. So it is, I imagine that's probably also linked to like your roll camera selection.
Yeah, absolutely,
It's that setting, that imagination that you can engage with. Yes, you're moving the pieces around the board, but you also get to engage on that level. Something really cool. And I really hope people get into like the Halloween theme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that would be a really fun game to play as on the Halloween night, honestly, I really think.
It's in my top 5 recommended games to play at Halloween because
exactly.
it is a really, really good game. And yeah, the theme is fantastic. I love the fact that it's got all the little mini puzzles involved in the game as well.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, how you kill them all and whatnot.
Exactly, you've got the really nice board. It looks visually appealing.
Exactly.
It's a great fun game to play, but then you get those sort of mini games within the game.
Yes.
You know, it's really, really great fun. I am interested to know, are you intending on getting the new version of it when it comes out?
Absolutely.
American Monsters, I think it is.
Cannot wait. Pre-ordered that. Can't wait for that. Hopefully next month it should be.
Yeah, I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but it's another one of those. It's sat in the cart, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
The advantage of having so many people who play board games is I also know that 99% of the time somebody I know already has it.
Usually me.
Usually you, and I think I can add Ant to that list.
I think you add me to the list now. But no, that I didn't know about the sequel till I think about a month ago. I think we mentioned it on your podcast, Jason.
I believe Paul did, yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. It's like, because I had the game, right? So I essentially bought the game before lockdown happened. So, and my kids aren't exactly of age to like be into that sort of game at the time. So it's been sitting here until I think I played it recently with my group. Then I introduced it to the guys at Board Stupid once. Well, the only issue is that we kind of done it on a night where we were playing a group of games. So I kind of rushed it, which I wish I hadn't. Yeah. But I hope they still enjoyed it and hopefully want to play it again. But I just have a lot of fun with that game. It's like you said, it's just putting down tiles, working together. Right, you go do this. We can kill that monster there, or we can get rid of Dracula's crypt there, whatnot, sort of thing. And I just love how every turn afterwards you've got the monster phase, and it could be anything. It might not even be a monster that's on your game, but I just love how it's that surprise element, like in the movies as well. So, yeah,
yes.
But definitely a Halloween themed game to play.
Yep. It's definitely, but it's also nice that the gameplay itself carries the game, because sometimes you can have a really good theme and the game is just a skin and the game is terrible.
Yes.
But this is one of those games which crosses that line of having a really good theme, which is like, classic, like a classic movie theme. And you are in that classic setting, I know I've already mentioned. But it's actually a solid game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can be also very difficult, and it can be really mini puzzle nightmare. But again, it gets that conversation flowing between people, and how are we going to solve this?
Yeah.
And even if you don't succeed, sometimes, like when I first played it, the first game we had, I think, yes, we lost, but it was literally like we needed just one more turn, and it was one person doing one action. And
that's what I love about co-op. It's like, it's just that one turn.
Exactly. and it is just that one turn. But the thing is even though we lost, we were so satisfied because we had done, we'd done everything we could. It was a little bit of bad luck. Yeah. But that's always an element in co-op games, unfortunately.
And a reason to go back and play it again.
Exactly. It gives you another reason. And you can almost imagine the corny return of the crypt monster and all of that. Look, that's not.
I like to play it with like sort of music in the background. Like find a playlist on Spotify of like old classic horror movies and just put it on the background whilst you play it. Just
to add that sort of in-depth.
They did the mash. They did the monster.
It's nice. As much as we went on about as much as we were discussing the theme just then, and obviously the classic setting, it is nice that you do have a solid game behind it as well. Yeah. Because as much as obviously we can go dorky about the themes and classic films,
absolutely,
it is nice to have a solid game about it as well. So I just wanted to make that.
It's nice to introduce these monsters to a younger audience as well, that they are around, and these were the originals at the end of the day as well.
You mean before or after they see the modern shit versions that they come out with?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, to their credit, the shit ones tell us what not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So the shit ones make the classics better. But we're not here to discuss films, though, are we? We can do that.
That's
we can do
another
that
episode.
We'll talk about that after we go off air.
Yeah, that's true. That's what we're going to be in a
This is
conversation tonight.
So that was my 4. Jason, yours has already been done.
Mine's already been done, so
Over to Yuri.
Okay. Well, this one isn't so controversial, and this one again, I think lots of people will say, but then again, even though people have heard of it, there tends to be a reason why, and it is Betrayal on the House of the Hill.
Ah, okay, yes.
Number 8.
I'm sensing a theme here, Jason, but no.
Well, at least you didn't get into his top 5 this time.
That's true. I must admit, this is where we don't discuss. We want to leave it as a surprise what our top 5s are. But obviously, when you do kind of steal someone's fun, you're like, ooh. But no, Betrayal on the House of the Hill. For those of you that don't know, again, as we've been discussing just now, we tend to like those sort of like horror themes and like all the like mystic, like all the like intense tension.
Ooh, I love the ooh.
The suspension sort
I
of
wish I had the sound effects to put on.
But no, but with Betrayal on the House of the Hill, for those of you who don't know, effectively, it's brilliant because each game is different. You are exploring this house, effectively. And when you're initially starting, you do not know who's going to be a bad guy, and you're all working as a complete team. Jason,
Jason, then, basically.
Jason always wants to be the bad guy, but I think we've established that by now.
So there is a traitor mechanic to
There
it.
is. So what happens is, effectively, you're exploring this house, and effectively, you eventually find cards which trigger omens, and you have to do these dice rolls. And depending on how many omens have been exposed, and other elements as well, and what item it was that exposed it on the roll,
Sure.
It then becomes that particular instance. So you have got a really wide range of what this could be. It could be aliens, for one example. I'm not keen on aliens myself, but that is one of them that's on there. You can have vampires, people who can control rats. You can have numerous different stories. I'll get on to the negative of why it's slightly low on my list in a minute. But it is still a co-op game because it's a co-op up until someone becomes a traitor, and you've got one person who then disappears with the traitor's booklet.
Should we just say Jason instead of traitor?
I'm tempted to. I must admit, I did stumble because I was tempted just to say Jason. Because Jason is disappointed.
This traitor Jason.
Because also to the point where we've played games before, and Jason is, and where it's been like, okay, so who is the traitor this time? You'd have to see. It could, most of the time it's whoever rolled the dice.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the player to your left or the player to the right, and Jason stands up and goes, "Oi!" and tries to shove the person out the chair because he wants that chair. He can be the person who plays it. But all joking aside, you then have one person with the betrayer's booklet, and that's their objective, which they're keeping quiet.
Yeah.
And then you've got the rest of the people who are playing who are still working as a team to try to stop that person. And so it is a traitor mechanic like we were discussing earlier.
Yeah.
So this is why it's one of those really good things. So at least in my book, and this is a game where it's actually integral that someone becomes a traitor. Because you really, when you're all working together and you're all exploring the house and you're all doing the co-op, you found some amazing items. Yeah, wicked. Oh, that's going to help you do this. Oh no, you've become the traitor and you've got that item. Oh, the panic. And then, or the person who then becomes the traitor. Oh God, I've got to get rid of that person. That's it. That person knows they're going to die, potentially.
Is this the one where you build it as you go along?
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
You explore like 3 or 4 different, it's 3 different layers.
Okay.
And they have all these different things, and you have different meters. There's 4 different meters, and they have certain amounts. And what happens if ever one of them gets to 0? You're dead. So yeah, and and it's all about exploring a really funky house, and you literally just go, who would go into this house in reality? Because it's got things like graveyards and broken floors and furnace room and ritual rooms, and it's got really gothic,
exactly,
mock horror theme, and it's just funny because and it's great because it's all tiles, so you mix them up and you have different sets, so each time the house is slightly different. It plays out slightly different, and you connect.
So it's got a lot of replayability to it.
Has.
Yeah.
The one downside, and the reason why it's slightly low on my list.
Yes, you were going to mention.
There's a couple of reasons. Some of the scenarios which you get put into when someone is revealed as a traitor, some of them are lackluster. Some of them are really generic. Some of them it's not many, mind you.
Okay.
But sometimes some will cross over, so you might have a repeat. It's very, very light, very minimal, but it has happened before.
Right.
So it ends up to the team what they want to do. There tends to be a house rule of, have we done this one before? Okay, one down. So that's how we then sometimes. But again, that is, house rule, whatever.
Yeah.
We might just keep exploring and then do it as the next one. It depends. It depends on the party and who you're playing with.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But thankfully, that is extremely rare. But some of them are ones you easy to guess. The one element is the co-op, the people who are fighting against the traitor, they know it's all about, they only have each side only has so much information.
Yeah.
So the traitor knows what they want to do. So going back to one, it's like one person wants to, the alien one is a bad example, but the alien one, for example, they want to abduct someone.
Okay, yeah. So
Whereas,
very, very obvious.
Yeah, and that's where this slight negativity comes in, where they want to take somebody away, which unfortunately follows the generic part. But the thing is, it's still not very common to have a bad one, and it's also about the people you play with. It's so funny.
It's still playable. It's just the fact the story is a bit generic.
Yeah, but most of them are really good, and then you're trying to get that information. What the heck are you trying to do? That person's overpowered. Why are they running back to that room? And it turns out it's vital for their plan. Or it can also be for the traitor or the people where they need to then go back to that room to find an item.
Yeah.
So so that is one element of it. But also, and then there's also sometimes bad luck where the traitor could be just placed in the right place at the right time, have all these items. So then it sometimes is a bit biased, and so it doesn't feel like such a fair fight.
Yeah.
But again, that is due to random chance.
Yeah.
And with anything with random chance, there's a chance it's just not going to be in your favour.
Right.
But it is such a good game. It's so replayable. It's, again, very good theming if you want to do Halloween.
Is that in the top 5 as well?
It is.
Ah, that's funny. Yeah, like I said, for anybody listening, we have not colluded on this. This is purely just my opinion on some of the things. But yes, as much as I've focused on negatives here, it really is a good game because it is so variable and you just have such a laugh. The number of times people go, the number of times I've played this game and the traitors come and go, or done something funny, something goofy, and the whole table laughs.
Yeah.
Or they're going, oh, we're going to get you. It's a conversation piece. It's a way to it's a really funny way to engage people. Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's top 4. But because of that slightly randomness or bad luck,
hey, it made the top 5 in the end today. So
it definitely did, and it is worthy of that spot. But also that is something that people need to be made aware of. But it is just a really fun game.
Yeah.
It's a really good game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, more positives than negatives, but hey.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, sometimes you have to highlight the negatives so that if people do play the game...
Do you ever find that people, sometimes when they play this sort of stuff, they don't get into the story as much? It doesn't bother them as much?
It does happen as well, yeah. Which is why I was highlighting some of the negatives more than, let's say, with some of the others, because... It is one of those games where you have to have people who are happy to get into the mood, like a jokey narrative like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That spooky haunted housey sort of esque sort of feel. And they have to obviously get in that frame of... Yeah, but the thing is...
get into that character.
They have to... Yes, kind of. I mean, there's a little child that runs around, and a number of times, almost everybody who's played it as the creepy child, and they're not even the traitor. It's just absolutely hilarious. And that's where you then have to get involved in the narrative. But again... It's nice having a game where you have narrative. It's not just moving the pieces around. It's, okay, have you fallen over and tripped down that hole again? Yes. Your dice roll is that bad? Yes. You just want to fall down, you just want to get all dirty on the shoot pile, don't you? Yes. But, yeah. So, and it just creates a lot of stories, and it's really, really fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love... Betrayal at House on the Hill. As Anne said, it's in my top 5 Halloween games. Again, it comes out almost every single year. If I remember correctly, they did a D&D variant of it as well. Betrayal at Baldur's Gate.
Yes. Yeah. And wasn't there one more?
There is now a slight re-theme, but it's more kidified now, which you've now got the Scooby-Doo version.
That's it.
Oh, okay. So they have okay.
Which is Escape the Haunted Mansion, is Scooby-Doo escaping from the Disney ride that you have at Disney World.
Okay.
And I actually own that as well. I haven't played it yet, but one thing I like particularly about that is obviously because it's designed for kids, you're not necessarily going to want the kids to be the betrayer. Yeah. So if they get chosen to be the betrayer, there is mechanics in the game where you can actually choose who the betrayer is.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so it's like, me. Yep, me.
It's just Jason. We should just call it the Jason mechanic.
The Jason mechanic.
Just call it the Jason mechanic.
But yeah, the game is fantastic, and the price point on it as well is like,
Yes,
there's no
that's a good
reason for
point.
this not to be in everyone's collection. At £30, it's a great game.
That is also a point I should have made. Yeah, that it's a very reasonably priced game as well, especially because it's so replayable, and that's why it went ahead of Pandemic. Because while Pandemic was the puzzle, this one is just replayable. Apart from the slight boops occasionally, it has a lot more replayability in my books.
Yeah,
and a lot more variation. So yeah, and that's why it went ever so slightly higher.
Yes. Yes.
Good choices.
Nice.
Right, so let's go to number 3 then.
Number 3.
So my number 3, we might clash. I'm not sure, but it's something we played obviously recently, and that is Marvel United. I know I keep bashing on about this game on recent podcasts and whatnot, but you can't deny that this is a pretty damn good co-op game.
It is a fantastic game. And I can say, like, you haven't clashed with me, but if James had been here, you would have clashed.
Yes.
Yeah, because I actually asked him who it was on his, and he's like, it's definitely gone on the 5. He didn't say where, but it was in his 5.
Yeah.
I freaking love this. I mean, I introduced it to you guys last week. You guys really seemed to enjoy it. It was one of those games I was worried that I hyped up too much because, again, I keep mentioning it. People should play it. And it's just so much fun. Again, if no one knows what it is, it's essentially you play as Marvel Avengers going against, any villain you can pick from. You work as a team playing cards around here. You give certain actions, but then you give the other players certain actions. And you, just like I say, you work as a group to defeat the villain. It's as simple as that, really, isn't it?
Yep. Just want to highlight it's really good. It's really good because it's not just the Avengers. It's a real mixture from the Marvel universe.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So you can play as some of the more, I say obscure, because there's going to be someone out there who's going to say, this is my absolute favourite character.
Exactly, yeah.
So like mine with Elektra, I know I'll get slack for that. So I was so happy when I saw Elektra and I squeaked because you get to play as one of your favourite characters.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
that's another thing I like, is the variety of it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind forking out for expansions and whatnot, then the list is endless, of who and what you can pick.
Of course, and then that's also where you can nitpick your characters in that case as well.
Yeah.
But it's nice because they all have their own different slight builds. There's crossovers of a lot of them with a lot of what the card actions do, and some of them are more inclined towards certain actions than others.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you can have such a nice variety, and you can get really excited about the characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes,
yeah,
and it's nice because it's a really colourful game. Everything's quite big and bold, so there's a lot of accessibility. So it's.
That's what I was saying to Jason, when you put the cards around the board, how it looks like a comic book. It looks like panels of a page, and it just so like I said, so bright, colourful, and. We played an easy game to get you guys into it, but then when we played against the Taskmaster, it got super challenging, and then it got to a point where even James was like, I just need this one more card and we can finish it, and then it wasn't the case, and then we lost, and it just goes to show it's not as easy as the game looks at the end of the day. It can be quite challenging at some point.
But the good thing is even if a game is challenging...
Sorry, we're in the middle of a thunderstorm while this is recorded, by the way,
yes,
guys.
I've been occasionally pausing.
Speak loudly!
I've been occasionally pausing, watching the lightning strikes in the distance, like, okay, this is happening. But no, I was wondering if this was going to hit us. Nice to have it confirmed.
Yeah, it's confirmed now. God damn it.
It's a bit loud, isn't it?
It is very loud if I get in the feedback.
That's what happens when you do it in the studio conservatory.
But no, it's really nice when you have those really bright, bold colours and you have that setting and the theme. Even if you lose the game, because it's such a co-op game and you're really trying to work together and discuss how you could possibly do it, it's nice having a game where even if you lose, you still feel like you had made an accomplishment, and then you really are in one. It's a discussion thing afterwards where you can be like, if only, and obviously that doesn't change the fact that you haven't won, but it creates that if we did this instead, it's a really nice way.
If we focused on the thugs or the threat or the civilians next time or something, or if we pick a character who can shoot adjacently or something, there's always that, we could have done this, we could have done, and again, that's the co-op of it, isn't it? And ultimately, if Jason wasn't Venom, we probably could have done it.
Don't be hating on Venom, alright?
But no, all joking aside, if you can have a game where you have a group of players, even if it's a game which is simplistic it's more simplistic than some of the games that are on my list or probably on everybody's list.
Yeah.
If you can have lists that are games that make you want to instantly replay, especially with a group of friends, then that's also a win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's one that's it's still constantly growing. More characters are getting involved. The Fantastic Four and X-Men are going to be here at some point as well, and it's just
get those paintbrushes ready.
This is it. Even more minis for me to get you to paint and put that tab up a little bit more for me as well. So. So
you could just paint these things yourself, Andy.
You could.
Do you know what? I really don't have the the confidence for it. Yeah. I mean, I painted a few zombie-side stuff, but yeah, I can't do anything else apart from that. That's easy to do. These need attention to it. So yeah.
No pressure.
So that was my number 3. Jason, what's your number 3, sir?
Okay, so I'm going to stick with your theme here because this next game is a Marvel-based game.
Nice.
Okay.
I love it.
I'm going to go in with one of my favourite games of all time, which is Marvel Legendary, the deck building game.
Oh, do you know what? I was so going to put Legendary Encounters, but I was going to put the Alien version in there, but... Nice, good choice, sir.
To be honest, I did wonder whether you would. I would not have classed that as a clash.
No,
I
wouldn't either. No.
But Marvel Legendary. It's one of my favourite games of all time. I've got literally every expansion for it. Something like 6,000 cards at this point.
Jesus,
so jealous.
The replayability to it is insane.
Yeah, it is brilliant.
Absolutely.
But even just the base game, it is a fantastic game. I love the fact that it's the comic artwork as opposed to the movie. They did do a movie edition.
They put a Phase 1 in one in there,
did,
didn't they?
and it flopped because it was shit.
Sucked ass.
It sucked ass. So they stuck with the comic style, and they're now releasing 4 expansions every year now. So they've really got back into their stride with it. Absolutely love it. They have the villains variant as well, which was very close to coming in.
Yeah.
Because it is basically the same, but you are actually playing as the villains instead, and you're facing off against the heroes. So I just lump it all under one. Marvel Legendary is a fantastic game. It scales so well as well, and it's very much the same as Marvel United. You're teaming together in order to take on the big bad evil, and exactly the same as Marvel United. Red Skull is shit.
Yeah.
Thanos is good.
It establishes that so well, doesn't it?
It does. And then, what I love about Marvel Legendary with the expansions as well is they take it to another level. Like, Thanos is really fucking hard to beat. There's only one harder than him, and that's Venomized Thanos.
Yeah.
Because, you need someone harder than Thanos, so, well, fuck it. Blend in with Venom. There we go.
Oh, that is a combination I do not want to see in the films.
Oh, yeah, I would love to see that.
But actually would be pretty fun.
But, yes. It's just such an array of playable characters. It's not...
Endless, though, isn't it?
Exactly. It's endless. They're never, ever going to run out. It's fantastic for that.
I do love the different keywords as well for different... expansions like the wall crawl or teleport or
exactly and they're so thematic as well. Like obviously if it's a Spider-Man character, it's all going to have wall crawler, and at the same time the Spider-Man characters aren't going to hit that hard. They're only going to do 1 or 2 damage, but what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to draw another card. Oh, well, that card allows me to do another 1 or 2 damage, but it also lets me draw another card, so I draw that.
And this one lets me put it back on the top of my deck.
And it's like, oh, look, I'm putting it all back. It's like, oh, look, I've burned through my entire deck and I'm actually doing 30 damage.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Thanos.
As somebody who's played it very limitedly and also something, I must admit, I don't know the mechanics. Could you elaborate on that a bit? So, for example, with the wall crawler and everything, I take it, it's that theme of that deck.
It basically, it's
the keywords. There's the keywords on the card.
Keywords. Yeah, there are loads of different keywords that do different things. But the basic concept of it is a standard deck builder. So you start your game with really crap cards that allow you to buy better cards from a selection on the deck, and The
It's
ultimate
5
aim-
heroes, isn't it? You can put
it's-
5 heroes in the
there's
hero
5
deck
heroes in the deck.
of your choice.
And you can buy their cards as you go. They become more and more powerful, allowing you to do even more damage or get more money to buy better cards.
Yes.
The ultimate aim is you have to defeat the overall big
Mastermind.
bad 5 times, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I played it,
Yes.
but yeah, 5 times.
Yes,
but
it
at the
is,
same
yeah.
time, you also have a new henchman or
That's it.
and
Scheme twist.
the little scheme twists and stuff like that coming out every turn. So it's really, really hard. Like I said, if you're going against someone like
Galactus.
Galactus,
Fuck that. That is
Yeah.
impossible, that is.
but yeah, you could go against people like Green Goblin. He's not terribly hard, but
Yeah.
he'll require certain things. Like I put together a game with a load of friends. I said, right, I've got all these different characters. Choose whichever characters you want to play. They all chose them. I hadn't told them who the villain was. We were going against Magneto. Now, Magneto's special rule is you have to be an X-Men to hit him. We didn't choose one X-Men.
Oh, how did that game go then, Jason?
Yeah, we lost pretty
Funny
quick.
that.
Yeah.
Funny that. But no, that's why I wanted an aberration, because I imagined that some would work better.
Exactly.
It's been a while since I played that, so I needed the refresher.
Yeah.
The only thing I found weird was, obviously I played the Alien and Predator ones before I played the Marvel ones,
Yeah.
was the wound system, because you don't essentially have health, really, do you? Whereas on the other sort of ones you do.
There's no way for you to physically die.
It's just
in
another
that game.
annoying
But
card in your
basically
deck, isn't
you
it?
get a wound card which then goes into your deck, which cycles round, and the wound card essentially does nothing.
Yeah.
So when you're drawing your new cards for the round, I think it's six cards if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah, it is.
If you get a hand with 5 wounds in it, you've only got 1 card to do something.
Yeah.
And that's really annoying. And there is ways to take those wounds out.
Of course,
you
yeah.
essentially pass your turn, and if there and any wounds that you've got in your hand, you can remove from your deck and chuck them in the discard pile. But yeah, it's just annoying. But it's also so cool because it means no matter how hard you're getting hit, you're never out of the game. You're always still got a fighting chance. And it takes a long while to get to the point where you've got so many wounds that it really starts to affect you. But there are also other characters like Hulk, which basically eat wounds to do
absorbs it,
more
yeah.
damage. And it's like, yeah, this is awesome. So if you sort of want to get a rough idea in your first couple of turns what your overall strategy is. Am I going all out damage?
Yeah.
Which if you're playing, if you decide to buy Hulk cards, that's probably what you want to do. He will do wounds to himself, but then, as I said, he also has cards that eat those wounds, get rid of them, and he just starts pummeling whatever it is he's hitting. So
Smash.
there's just so many synergies within the game. It's so much fun. Whereas, and the variant that I was talking about earlier with the villains, while you get wounds in that version, there is no way to remove them.
Okay.
However, in true villain fashion, you can pass your wounds to someone else in your team. Because it's just sort of like, yeah, we're on the same team, but I'm the better villain. Fuck you.
I'd literally almost imagine him just going, hold on, grab the back of the shirt of the other one, put him in front of you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just drop the carcass on the floor. Clean up will come along shortly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been no secret to anyone. It's one of my favourite games of all time. I've spent so much money on this game, and it doesn't see the table as much as I would like it to, but then again, I'm at a point now where I'm expected to play all these different games, to review them, to give people my opinions on them. I mean, hell, I'm now expected to teach people games. Why the fuck would you want me to teach you a game? I'm terrible at teaching games.
But that's why you wrote me in.
Exactly. Kyrie, as I said, Kyrie is now a very proud member of my very close gaming group for a good reason.
Only
She's the
because
how-to-play person.
Exactly.
Only because I sit there and read the rule book.
But no, on those ideas, me and Kyrie will meet up quite regularly, just at mine to learn new games together.
Sure.
Or the podcast.
Or
the
for
podcast
the
now.
podcast as well. So yeah.
Do you know what? Do you know what though? Right, picture this. Have you ever seen the movie Pulp Fiction?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So I went to Jason's to obviously do an episode on Meeple Minded, and then I obviously saw the core box he had there, and he said, "Ant, come over here. Let me show you this." Dished out the suitcase, and it was literally like the scene from Pulp Fiction when John Travolta opens the suitcase and a beam of light comes out. That's what I reckon is in that case in the movie. It's just legendary, the whole set of legendary characters. But
It's just that embarrassing thing that once you'd left, I realised that I actually had 6 expansion boxes that I didn't show.
Because when he opened that box, all I could think of was Samuel Jackson saying, "Ant, are we happy?" And I'm like, "Ooh, we happy." We happy indeed.
That is very fitting.
So that was my experience with seeing your deck set.
Oh, yes.
Ultimate set there, and I just couldn't believe it. And you had the dividers for it and everything. It's like, just incredible.
I put a lot of time and a lot of money into that game because
it
is that good. It's such a good game. If anyone
I wish I started off with that, but I've got it now, so I've got some. So
I mean, I've not even played the Alien variants. Again, it's not something I'm particularly interested in, but I would be interested to see. I know that there's some fan rules out there as well, which allows you to mix them, which would be kind of cool to get the Marvel characters beating up the Alien characters.
Yeah, because you can do that with the Predator and Alien franchise. You can mix those together, whatnot. It's essentially the same, isn't it? Yeah, at the end of the day.
So I would like to try that at some point, just because it'd be quite cool to do that.
I'm so annoyed because I wish I'd put that in the list now. And that's my number 6.
So we've established
Legendary Encounters is number 6.
But we've established this already. Our top 5 lists aren't set.
Yeah.
To be honest, we've already said they're probably going to change tomorrow because we'll suddenly think of something.
If we do a co-op episode on People Minded, it'll be.
There is one in the plan, so
there we go.
We will make sure.
There we go. See, signed in already.
See how different
in the games. As I say, it'll be totally different now.
Oh, don't! That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
right.
That's mine. I love this game. Anyone who hasn't played it, fucking play it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree.
You can. It's another game that's very easy to come by.
Do you think we can bring it to the club?
Oh yeah,
bring it to the club for us. And give it a go because I'd love to play it there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I've always had with that game is the setup time.
I could just imagine you having you handcuffed to the case. And you get Kerry to give you the key and open it for you.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
That's it.
We're good to go. We're good to go.
Good to go. You get I'll be like the bouncer for you.
The package is deposited. I repeat, the package is deposited.
It's secured.
It's secured.
All my shield agents protecting me.
Yes, I see what you did there. Nice.
I like that.
Love it. But yeah, Marvel Legendary, play it.
Nice number 3, show. Good choice. Kerry,
what's your number 3? It's number 3. This one is arguably the one I was most nervous about mentioning because this has got some negative slack. This is also
my number 2's got loads of negativity in it, so don't worry about it. Go for it.
Oh no, I'm going to go for it, but I'm probably going to cause a lot of hatred. It's Kingdom Death Monster.
Get out.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Now, to give you some context, I don't think you would have heard this one. This one is definitely one of those unique games, to put it politely. I'll explain it and describe it to you. And then I'll describe why it's got such...
hatred.
Not hatred. You'll see why when I describe. It's not hatred necessarily. Flack. Anyway. What it is it was a Kickstarter game.
Right.
And effectively what it is you are in this dark, expansive world, and it's got this full of all like stone faces on the floor as the start of the story. Everything around you is dark. All you are humans who are just in like a bit of cloth with a lantern that lights up a tiny patch around you. And out of the dark, when you start the game, out of the darkness comes a special enemy, which is a special white lion, which is something I would get onto in a bit later.
Okay.
And then you are effectively 4 humans fighting against 1 monster.
Right.
And this game is effectively, this is going to be a bit of a mouthful, it is a monster hunting quarry game mixed with some boss fights and a settlement game. And it has got one of the most unique themes that I've found in a board game. I know some people will be like, is it really that unique? In my books, yes, because effectively you are effectively playing as humans who are effectively monsters. And
you're on the monster turf.
Yeah, you are on the monster turf. And effectively you come along, if you survive the first encounter, because you've literally just armed with a piece of stone in your hands and fists.
Okay.
You kill this lion, get some resources, and you find a settlement, which is a giant lantern horde, which is this wall, like this settlement entirely surrounded by lanterns.
Okay.
And it's the only thing that keeps the monsters away. I won't get into spoilers. And this world is something you explore. You don't necessarily get the full narrative.
Okay.
And it's one that you create. And then with this settlement, you're all extremely primitive monsters, creatures, whatever you want to call them, and it's about you building a society with this settlement.
Okay.
And it's all about you going out to hunt these monsters for resources. Coming back, do you survive? Because this game, the reason it gets such slack is for numerous reasons. Because this game is not kind. This game, you will more often lose than win. This makes something like the puzzle of Pandemic look like nothing. Because it is designed, because it's also a dice rolling game, you can just be as prepped as you can be, but you can still lose because you have terrible dice rolls.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit that luck based. It is also strategy. You have to put yourself in the place of the quarry, for example. I'm using the lion again.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in the correct position to fight in. So it's strategy. But when you first encounter these monsters, you don't know, unless you've cheated or you've taken away a bit for yourself strategy wise by looking up how they work mechanically. It's like you are in that position role playing wise fighting a completely new monster.
Okay.
And you're gathering all these resources to help better your settlement, improve, make new items. After certain events like the first child being born or the first death, you have principles. So your settlement becomes uniquely your own.
Okay.
So it's a really interesting game, which is why it's on my list.
It sounds really intriguing, to be honest.
Is, but the thing is,
sounds very Monster Hunter-esque.
It kind of is, actually. That's actually a really good comparison, yeah. There's just a few...
Not as cute and cuddly, though, I'd imagine.
Not. But there's just a few incy-tinsy problems. This is why it's number 3, and this is why I was so nervous. This game, as I said, doesn't pull its punches. If you are unlucky, you can lose all your best trained, all the most experienced people.
So it's all that build-up, which could be essentially all gone.
And that is exactly what happens, and that is a common thing. But that is also something I like to stress to people is part of the game.
Yes.
Because it's a monster. This is why I keep referring to humans as monsters. It depends on what you think of in the game. But effectively, you are in a dog-eat-dog world, and that is part of its theme. But unfortunately, for some people who can pour 30, 40-plus hours into it just to have all of these people who are critical to your settlement be wiped because you've had to fight this boss.
Yep.
Or because you also have that, because you have monsters you fight for resource, which are like quarries, like lion and other ones I won't spoil in case people are interested. But then
I think I am, to be honest.
I've got it. So this is also why it's controversial, and this is why I'm about to go into a load of the negatives. It's expensive.
I was going to say, this sounds quite pricey.
Because
if it's a Kickstarter as well.
This is, to describe the cost as to why it's so expensive, you have got, each monster has its own unique deck.
Okay.
Completely new individual deck. It has its own models, and oh my god, all the miniatures. I love them. I love painting them. They are something I paint frequently, which, as you know, I am a painter.
Yeah.
So for me, the unique mold you can get makes it worth it, because I also get a lot out of the assembling the model. It's my baby.
Yeah,
Jason's got his baby. This is my baby. But the thing is, I also understand why it's got its hate. So it's expensive to get into.
Yeah.
It does take time. It's a campaign game. So you have
I was going to say, it sounds like one, yeah.
It's you have each time you go out for a quarry, it's like 30 lantern years. And each one counts as one. You've got special encounters and everything like that. Certain events happen dependent on your choices, which is also part of the appeal, but also part of the things which go against it. Because if you've pumped that amount of time into it and you wipe, it's nothing is more disheartening. But for me, that's part of the appeal.
But that's part of campaign games, though, isn't it? Essentially, isn't
but
it?
it is the fact that it can be that brutal. You can just be that unlucky with dice rolling.
Yeah.
Also, dice rolling, you could be as strategic as you like. You've got bad dice roll, you're unlucky. But yeah, and also it's harder to come by. You're looking at easily at least £250 if you're lucky to get the
So how many
game.
players is this for as well?
This game can be played with one person solo play, but normally it goes up to 4 players, and I would recommend that because you get more of that community.
Is it one of those ones where if one person goes, that's it, it's over? Or
no, because this is where I personally think it's quite cool, because you can have that drop in, drop out mechanic, because what happens is each person takes on the role of one survivor in there, and it's not like you're role playing a character, it's their stat sheet effectively. And then you're deciding, and there's other elements of it. If there's more than one player, you can like gain insanity because you're saying, the monster's going to target me.
Yeah.
So it has that really cool element to it. But and if somebody needs to drop out, it's fine, because someone can act as 2 players. Or in my case, because I was in lockdown, I was playing it solo.
Oh, of
So
course,
this was the game that helped me get through lockdown,
No, that's fair, yeah.
which was quite fitting.
Mine was Crokinole, but hey.
But to be fair, it's Crokinole. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know, but come on, yours sounds quite epic, to be honest.
It is, but also the other negative factor, and I have to keep it balanced because I don't like sending people in blind. They should definitely look it up for theme and design. It's a lot of bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Because you're making a unique settlement. It's not as bad as what some people make it seem, but you're constantly having to rub out the armor points because you take hits.
Yes, okay.
You have all the wounds to remove. You gain experience, and you have to scribble out little bits on your piece.
Sounds
of
like a more in-depth, like D&D sort of game, really.
You could make the argument for that, but the thing is it doesn't have an overall. This is also slightly it where you can go for a whole campaign,
Right.
and depending on some of your choices or your luck, there is no set story.
Right.
Excuse me. There's no set. There is a theme there, but it is effectively the main part is it's your settlement, and it's a survival game. There is elements of story which I find really interesting there, but they are very buried and very deep, which is why this game's quite. It's funny. I focus so much on the negatives when I'm describing this list because people should know when they go in what they're going to expect.
Yeah.
But the thing is all those negatives aside, expense being the biggest thing because it's an expensive game. But it
sounds like it's worth the money, though, in all fairness, because there are some games where you're like, oh, it's $250 for the next Gloomhaven, but hey, is that, some people might not think that's worth it to be end of the day.
This is what I mean, but also it's the fact that you can also do variant rules. So I said about it being 1 to 4 players. There are variant rules where you can have more people play if you want to go. It would be madness if you do, because of certain rules that kick in. But just for the challenge of it, it would be quite interesting. And it's also, there is a little bit of flexibility within it. So it's like you don't want to, if you, for example, the very first thing that you meet is like a weak white lion quarry. Right. Sometimes, because you've got nothing, it can just keep handing it to you. And it's not the nicest way to start a campaign game where you can't even kill the basic entry. Hi, meow. Yeah. So there are ways, and also if you experience players, you can skip it.
I was going to say, yeah.
So you can have that little bit of nudge, wink. But the thing is the difficulty and the bad luck is part of the game because it's a survival horror game. Yeah. And it's a settlement game. And I'm not going to touch on every element of the game because it's also part of the joy of it is exploring it. Yes. But yeah, I think it's really good. It's an amazing atmosphere. It's quite unique.
It sounds really good, to be honest.
And I'm also going to make the most out of it because I'm a miniature painter. So for me,
that was lockdown sorted for you, wasn't it?
Literally, I spent hours playing the game, and then in my evenings, I'll be painting the models. So
kind of wish I had it for lockdown, to be honest. Let's see kids out of the way, Crocodile's done, let's get a real game out.
but as funny as that is, it's really good. It's just it can only be midway up my list as much as it is my own personal baby.
It sounds like it should have been higher, personally.
It should have been, but the thing is when I make a list, it has to be balanced. And the thing is also there's other things going on with its Kickstarter at the moment where it hasn't done all this fulfillment. They're working their butts off to try to do it.
I bet.
It's one of those things which promised the world because it was one of the highest grossing Kickstarters on there.
Oh, wow.
And it's ridiculous how much you get when we get it. But the thing is especially when COVID hit and everything got delayed.
Yeah, of course.
So as consequence, and also they've got to do a lot of balancing, and the designer of the game is known as being a perfectionist.
For a game like that, you kind of have to be, though, really.
Whether or not it justifies it is up to personal opinion. But as much as it is my baby, I couldn't put it on my list, high on the list, because there are other games which I find just maybe not matching on the same scale as Theme, but the sheer expense, the difficulty to get hold of, which is why I couldn't feasibly put it higher. But it's definitely my baby, and I'm so going to drag some people I know into a campaign soon. God damn it.
I'd love to give it a go, to be honest. It does sound quite intriguing.
That's it. You've had it recorded. It has been recorded and witnessed. Yeah. That's down to
I'll give it. Yeah, I'm happy to give it a go. I probably won't make it past the first part, but yeah, hey. I'm always up for giving it a try.
You have to, but it's definitely one of those games where you get what you give.
Yes, of course.
And you have to be accepting that it can go wrong. It will probably go wrong, but you're definitely going to have the story of, oh look, I'm just going to throw this stone and cut the lion's bollocks off. and you might get a special item if you're lucky.
Well, parabolics, obviously.
But this is the thing. That one's like one of the most classic examples in the game. But the thing is you're chuckling, and all I've mentioned is just that one bit, let alone some of the other madness of some of the creatures. And if you look at some of my painted models, you'll see how grotesque some of them are.
The ones you show me, is it from that game?
Which ones did I show you? Sorry.
I can't remember. You showed me quite a few last week, and I can't remember.
No, I haven't shown you any Kingdom Death ones. But there's like, for example, there's like an antelope, which has got a giant set of jaws as its like stomach. It's got this giant set of teeth.
Wow.
As its stomach, and you can look in and always empty rib cage. It's not based on realism, but it's a grotesque horror.
Of course, yeah.
But of course, if something's got like teeth for its stomach, you can imagine some of its attacks. I have been one of those people who have been listening to it before I took the plunge and bought it. I did spoil some things for myself and looked at some of these monsters. Oh my goodness, some of them are insane. But the thing is, it's so unique, and that's another reason why. Another reason why. So in terms of theming and setting, and despite some of the negative things that are attached to it, it's definitely worth at least a look at and seeing some people like maybe watch people playing it, because it's a unique enough setting, a unique enough world where I think that it warrants being looked at, but it definitely can't be much higher on my list because of that sheer expense and difficulty to come by.
Yeah. Just good enough to be in the top 5 full stop, really, isn't it?
Yes, but then again, I also am a bit where I don't have as vast a collection as Jason. I definitely have forked out for this game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and although I haven't played it, I am one of the people that's agreed that we do need to get this to the table.
Yeah.
You were spot on. It is still to this date the #1 grossing board game of all time on Kickstarter with 12.4 million.
Yeah, the thing is I was gutted. I still, when they say you shouldn't have any regrets in life, I have one of my biggest regrets is I've got my dates mixed up, and I'm gonna know about this game. I missed the Kickstarter by a day.
Oh.
And when I emailed because I had never done a Kickstarter at that point, I got into Kickstarter because of this game. I tried to apply for a late pledge.
I was going to say, did you get a late pledge?
I didn't get a late pledge. So, yeah, so
did you fork out even more for it then?
Technically, yes, because I bought the individual base game for that sort of money.
Yeah.
And then I've been buying it in the piecemeal bits. So I have forked out way more than if I'd backed that campaign.
But you've still dedicated yourself to it. That's the main thing.
Because for me, I see its worth.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that I would, unless somebody would think they're going to make the most out of every element of this game, that's why it's,
Yeah, that's why you would do it. You're not going to fork out all that much just to leave it like a pandemic box, just collect dust at the end of the day.
It kind of is, and that's the pity, and that's also why I really want to do a campaign of it. But I still could make use of it because of the models.
Sure.
And just a short,
and you've been playing it solo, so it's not like it's not just like sat there at the end of the day.
So yeah, but I also just love the imagination behind it as well. It's really different.
Sounds very imaginative as well.
It is. Some of it can be a little bit more generic. Like, it's a lion. It's a white lion, but there's other elements to it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. But you don't want to spoil, because also there's that hush-hush thing of you don't want to spoil some of the things that were revealed.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Try and respect that for people who are listening, just in case. Yeah. So even though I spoiled one other monster, but still.
Probably won't remember by them anyway, but yeah. I look forward to giving it a go if you ever need another player. I'm down for it.
Yep. And then that means I just got to have to read my manual rulebook. It's actually
all over again.
Oh, I do not mind. I do not mind. It is a lovely coffee table book. I often reread it.
You gotta love when a rule book looks like a paving slab.
It does. No. Well, it's not quite a paving slab. It looks more like an art. It looks like one of those art coffee table book things. But no, it's interesting. It gets more slack than I think it deserves as well, because it's one of those things where everyone bigs up, it's really difficult. It's really unfair. And it's like, it is, but you need to have the mindset of, you're going into a game which is designed to be survival. You're going to grit your teeth. It's not going to go your way, and that is the downside. But if it goes right, I need a crit. If we crit it, we're going to kill it in one hit. I bloody did it. Honestly, the
victory,
the highest
praise
highs.
The sun.
It is, but it's like the highest highs and the lowest lows, because obviously if things do go wrong, they go very wrong. But those speaking points of those high bits, and especially since each settlement becomes unique, because what principles do you choose? You replay it, you choose different principles. It means you unlock other
stuff to keep it going.
Other stuff to keep it going. So it does have replayability, but it's just obviously that gut punch if it goes wrong. So yeah, I went on far too long about that, but still.
No, go on as long as you want. I've just released a 3.5-hour episode and it's done really well. So.
Well, I imagine that you might get some angry people going, "Oh, why did they mention Kingdom Death?" So hopefully, I don't draw too many of the any of the haters.
No, don't be silly. Right, so yeah, good number of choices there, guys. Well, number 3, let's go to number 2.
Number 2.
Right, so I think my number 2 is going to end a debate with Jason on what he thought was going to be the question he was going to ask later. I think he knows where this is going to go, so just going to come out and say it. Zombicide, number 2.
It's not where I thought I was going,
fair
actually.
enough. I do love myself some Zombicide. I mentioned on Meeple Minded episode. But I think they've kind of taken a step. So we mentioned on there that people are fed up of Zombicide because there's way too many of them by now. That's why probably people are going to hate and this fucking stupid number 2 or not. But recently, when they did the second edition, they released a expansion for it called Zombicide ZC, not DC. Mm-hmm. And it essentially is Zombicide but a campaign.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about that. Because again, you know, Zombicide is great with co-op, full stop, isn't it? But then when you've got this one, it comes to decision making because it's now going to bring you up to your next game and what you're going to bring over next time. And I just love how they've changed that a bit. Like every Zombicide has obviously something different. Like I had Invader, and you can actually bring the Project Elite characters to that, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the aliens, and again you can swap it over with Invader onto Project Elite as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's really cool. It's a very cheap expansion, but I just love the fact how you can swap it over. It's such a great idea, and that's why I love how they put Project Elite into that world of Zombicide as well.
Yeah,
interesting.
But yeah, I mean, the Nightmare on Elm Street one I've got there was kind of came during sort of mid-lockdown, and I was playing a lot of that one player on my and just having a lot of fun with it. And I can't not deny how much I just love this game. And it's it's Zombicide. It's not the greatest of games. I know people are, like I said, are fed up of it, but I just love how something's different every time. Like the campaign stuff is good. I want to get the Fort Hendricks campaign as well, which is meant to be really good as well. But yeah, I can't deny that as a co-op game, it's great. It's fun.
Yes.
And it's nothing. Everyone knows Zombicide. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but yeah. That's my number 2. Nice. I know it wasn't as long as your number 3, but
no.
You guys are board gamers. You know Zombicide, so there's no point going into it too much.
This is very true, yeah. I think most people out there know what Zombicide is at this point. It is a very, very good game. It's not, personally, it's not even in my top 10.
No,
that
I wasn't expecting it to be, no.
However, it's one of those games, if people want to play it, I'll gladly play it.
Yeah.
It is a very good game, especially since they released the second edition, where they fixed quite a few of the issues from the initial printing. As you said, people are getting a bit bored with it. I don't think it's inherently the fault of the game. It's just the fact that it's now become a bit of a cash cow.
Yes.
Like, we've got this new game, but it might not sell very well. I'll just put Zombicide in front of it, and it'll work. It's like, this is a Western game. Yeah, but it's probably not going to sell. Let's do Zombicide Western. There we go. That'll sell, and it does. And that's why people get a little bit put off by it.
One of the Invader expansions is Dark Side, I think it's called, which kind of feels like it wasn't going to be a Zombicide game, but it's like, if we put, like you said, Zombicide on it, we can sell it as even though it is technically a separate game.
Yeah,
but hey, we'll count it as an expansion.
Yes, exactly.
It kind of goes back to the pandemic thing as well, because that's another game. They're sort of like, just stick the word pandemic in front of it. It'll be fine.
I must admit,
which they've done with Warcraft recently, haven't they?
They have.
Yeah, they have. That would be an interesting one to look into. But no, I must admit, credit where credit is due, and sorry about bringing minis again. I will say, oh my god, the new minis.
Yes.
Oh my god, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
But no, I must admit, Zombicide, as much as I love the models, and I really love the models, like, a lot, I must admit, Zombicide as a game, it's not... I play it, and I'll play it in a group and team. Must admit, it's not up there for me personally.
No.
But I must admit, those minis, oh my.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm not going to, keep buying into them. I think I'm happy with just the 2 I have. But, I can't deny that I've had fun with my group playing it. That's the issue. That's why it's quite high up on it. And, I can't remember what I was going to say now. And yeah, it's the one that kind of got me into painting as well.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's fair.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to go any further.
I mean, this will rather insult Kyrie, I think, when it comes to it, because I know she's actually done a bit of painting of some of the zombie-sides in the past, but it's kind of one of the most forgiving ones, because at the end of the day, they're fucking zombies.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, it's always been known, one of the things, like the old GW Agrax Earthshade.
Yes.
Miracle paint.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I really
just dip it in that and that's it.
Dip it in that, there we go. Looks fucking awesome now.
I'm an artist.
Or Nod oil, yes, there's that.
You know, and it's one of those, is like, just paint them base colours, whack a shade over it, and they, you know, a dirty shade. It's like, they literally look like they've come out the ground. Fucking marvellous.
The way I see it, if you're happy with them, you don't need to do professional painting. I mean, if you want a statement pieces, of course, it's going to be stunning. But also the good thing is where there are lots of repeats of the Zombicide mod minis, there's it's good because it means that you can either like batch paint them as one set colour, but you can also mess around and do something unique with them.
Do something, yeah.
But the most important thing is all minis aside, and all the arguments of it's so expensive because the minis add so much expense. If it's what you enjoy, if it's what you enjoy and you have a good game of it, then why not? It's no, you know, as much as it might be, like, you know, overexposed, overused, or whatever term you want to add on to it.
Yeah.
If you enjoy it, then why not? So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I mean, when I backed the Night of Living Dead one, I didn't actually know it was a Zombicide game. I just, because I'm a movie buff.
Yes.
I just thought it was, you know, a board game of one of my favourite movies. And then when he delivered it to me and it's like, oh, it's Night of Living Dead, a Zombicide game, I'm like, okay. So it wasn't intentionally, it's another Zombicide game to add to the collection. I got it because it was one of my favourite movies. Yeah. So yeah, that was quite interesting. I mean, I think I don't remember it on the Kickstarter saying Zombicide. So they might have done it very last minute, saying Zombicide put out, it's not going to sell well. Put Zombicide on it, like you said, Jason.
Right before it went to retail.
Exactly, yeah. So,
did you accidentally put that on the box? Oh, well, you might as well leave it there now.
Yeah, it's there now.
But then again,
good idea.
But then again, you can also make the argument that if you make a really good game and you can attach something that is a bit more, I'm air quote, mainstream, more recognisable, it might expose people to different as much as overexposed. It might different sorts of games.
Yeah.
And if it's a theme you like, you can just get that one bit that you super duper like. It's just just because something comes out doesn't mean you're obliged to buy absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I've always said it. Always said it. It's business, people.
Yeah.
You've come up with a IP that people recognise and they love. It's gonna sell. It's called business.
I have to admit though, it's one of those games where getting into the hobby, you find out about games. And when I was looking this up, it looked intimidating to play, and it's not. It's one of the easiest. Again, that's probably another reason why it's on my list, because it's such an easy game to play. Yeah. And like when I got my guys into it, when I'm putting all these pieces on the map, and then I'm changing the map, and then putting all these other locations out, then all these zombies, and it's just like, oh my god. It looks like a dungeon crawler, if you will.
Yes.
And it's just like, this is going to take time, this is take forever. It's not. It's like, you do 3 actions, you 3 actions, you 3 actions, zombie phase. You do 3 actions. Then that's all it is, isn't it?
It is.
And, it's very misleading. I was like, I don't know if I want to, but still gave it a try at the end of the day, so...
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. But the good thing is you gave it a go and you found something you really enjoyed.
Yeah,
and
exactly. So that's my number 2, nice and easy.
Nice.
I'll quote you. Good choice, sir. Good choice.
Thank you.
Right, so I should back off from the microphone a little bit. As I just say, people are going to be fed up with this.
It's got Monopoly in it.
It's not Monopoly.
There's
no co-op version of Monopoly as far as I'm aware. And if there is, burn it.
Burn it.
Same with the rest of them. But no, it's morphin time, baby.
Nice.
It's morphin time. It's back. It is my number 2. Power Rangers is back.
Nice.
I absolutely... I can't wax lyrical about this more than I already do. The game is fucking amazing. It's one of the best co-op games I've ever played. Take out the fact that I am incredibly attached to the theme. The nostalgia of it. It's fucking awesome. The minis are amazing. They've done... Again, I'm sort of just talking about the base set here, but if you include all the expansions they've done, just to have all of those amazing monsters that they created in the original 3 series on the television, and obviously they've combined that with the new comic series. I mean, the game's that good, it got me back into fucking comics, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, nice.
Like,
That's a compliment. That is a good compliment.
and it's a very good compliment. It's like, genuinely, it got me back into
The
the
art
comics.
on the boxes is amazing as well.
Yeah.
Art is absolutely stunning. It
Don't-
really is.
Don't judge me. I haven't played it. I don't know much about
I
it.
know you haven't. I know you
I
haven't. Don't
have-
worry. It is actually it's in the rotation to actually come to the clubs very, very soon.
Well, thanks to Legend of
fair enough.
Podcast, and I got to play it. So when you do dish it out, I can go straight into it now.
Boom! There we go.
I have got a feeling I'm going to need the manual before we
The only issue with playing with me there is when we got the putties out, we're all going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it has to be done. Same as you've got to kind of have the soundtrack in the background. It's
Yes.
like, go Green Ranger, go! Yeah. Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, like you said, it's like,
Unfortunately, all I know is go Power Rangers.
Exactly.
Yep.
but I play that before we start the game. It has to be done. And yeah, it just, like you said, when you get the putties out, it's like, all right, well, we've got to do the villain face.
I didn't know if I was going to get you to do it. Nice.
But you have to.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not a role player, but by fucking God, I will get in a party costume and make the damn noise.
And that's the thing, though. It's like with all the other characters. Like if you bring Goldar out, you'll end up going,
Go do the Rangers. Or, you know, Rita. I mean, I can't do Rita, but, you know, just...
After 10,000 years of free, it's time to conquer Earth.
So, what is it that makes it? What makes it so nice as a co-op game
Alright,
for you?
Okay,
as a
so,
context?
yeah, going
apart
back,
from the nostalgia overload of it.
going back to the game of it, it is... You know, you think back to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the whole premise of it is they are a team of teenage kids taking on a load of big bad monsters. The game brings everyone together as a team. There's no set sort of, you go clockwise, you go anti-clockwise to do it. It's like, no, what is best for us? Well, if I go first, I can do this. Or, you know, it's like, well, we've got loads of villains over in this section, but if we don't go and deal with that section, it's going to go into Crisis and then we lose the game. So it's like, right, I'll use one of my actions to move there, everyone move here, and then only one person uses an action in order to engage a combat.
I see.
So everyone then fights in the combat. It's like, did we win? No, cool, right, you use an action, engage another combat, and then we're all fighting again.
Yep.
And, you know, you can sort of sit there between turns once you know what the scope of the land is with the villains and the monsters and all that kind of stuff, and sort of sit there and have a discussion and go, right, how are we going to do this? Because, you know, if we don't do this, we're going to lose. If we don't do this, we're going to lose. But we can't really do with both unless we split up. Is splitting up the best option, or do we all go together, deal with that, and then all go together over here?
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many decisions to make in it, and it just, it's such a simple co-op game. The problem with the game is a lot of people are put off by
Is that
that
the one
theme.
it's the circular board?
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of people are put off by the theme. And I get that, not everyone liked the Power Rangers, but I've said this to multiple people, like, you could take those Power Rangers figures out and stick in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
or, you know, to annoy ants and Pokemon characters, or
Fucking hell.
stick in...
By the way, Big Gal, he's wearing a Pokemon t-shirt in your honour, if you're listening.
I had to.
You got another fan to get you that Pokemon podcast episode.
Oh, I was backing it from the start. But yeah, you know, take characters from whatever you like. Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, whatever it be. Shove them in this game, let them fight.
Yeah.
You know, the theme means nothing. The game is one of the best, most well put together games I think I've done. I think Jonathan Yin did a fantastic game with designing this, and I don't think it gets the credit it deserves.
Yeah, totally,
You
yeah.
know, a lot of gamers I have spoken to weren't interested in it in the theme, and I sort of said, no, forget the theme, just play the damn game. They've played the game and gone, that's one of the most well-constructed games I've ever played. I really just wish it wasn't.
I have to admit, the
wasn't
first time I
thing.
played it, I was like, I'm not too sure if I want to give this a go, but hey, I shut my mouth. It was like really, really good at the time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just have to give it, because the game is really well constructed. It's got great quality components.
Expansions are amazing.
The
as well.
expansions are amazing. I mean, I only really am interested in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but, you know, they've gone into Zeo, Turbo, Dino.
Oh, they have they?
They've
Yeah.
done all of that kind of stuff now. You know, they've done the stuff from the comics with the Shattered Grid, where Jason never turned good and he just became more and more powerful, ended up killing Lord Zed and Rita.
What's the overpowered White Ranger now, the bad version?
That is Lord Draken.
Draken, that's it.
And that is Jason if he never turned good. So yeah, it's really, really good. It will get you into wanting to know what the new comic series is about, wanting to read the story, and I can't say enough good things about it. I love this game, and I am going to get you to play it.
That's fine.
Every person I've introduced this game has absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
I'm up for it, and the fact that you're so passionate about it, I know I'm in for a treat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, because we both play. Well, we all play a lot of board games, and for one that we know can be a bit quirky or go a bit odd. But the thing is if there's one which excites us, we apart from some odd quirks, we will enjoy it. Yeah. So the fact that you're so excited about it gets me excited, because I know I'm in for a good game.
I would just like to point out that you don't have to, gear yourself up in spandex with a really crap motorcycle helmet to play the game. So
that's good to know, because that would have been.
Can we do the arm waves though when we take our turn?
I'm gonna move my model right over there.
Dragonzord power now.
No, in that case, remind me not to have any drinks near the table. This was a risk enough. This glass of water.
But yes, you've got to play it. I'll get you to play it very soon.
That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Are they still doing stuff for it?
Yes, yeah, they're still supporting it. I believe there's a new Kickstarter coming soon, or they might have pulled away from Kickstarter because it's become that big,
right?
That the company has grown so much that they now don't actually require.
They don't need. We don't need Kickstarter now
anymore. Yeah,
isn't that just a massive compliment to the game, though? If it doesn't have to depend on Kickstarter,
absolutely,
that is a good compliment.
Absolutely.
I mean, the company, I believe they did a few small games before it, but since the success of Power Rangers: Heroes of the Grid, they've been given Transformers licenses, G.I. Joe.
Oh, nice.
That's really cool.
And a range of other things. They've released a Power Rangers deck building game now as well, which
Ooh.
I'm very interested in playing.
That actually sounds quite intriguing.
Yes, I have a way of playing it, so I'm a happy man.
Good.
So yeah, be
fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to stop because I will talk forever about Power Rangers.
Fair enough.
We'll get you to come back and do a how to play.
Oh god,
that'd be fun.
Oh god.
Ah, there you go.
God.
So you can teach games.
Oh dear god. But the real question is, I'm passionate about it. So what is my number one going to be?
That's true.
Oh.
So yeah, Kyrie, you're number 2.
Now this one.
Good choice, by the way.
Thank you.
This might actually be a surprise because, again, I would describe this personally as a little bit more of a casual game, but I'm going to tell you why. My choice is Mysterium.
Ah!
Mysterium is a 2 to 7 player game, and this one has, again, I really like the games, not gimmicks, but a unique concept. One person plays as the recently deceased person. They are the ghost, and they have their own screen. And at the start of the game, they are making up what's a scene of... It's almost like a strange Cluedo. And I love Cluedo. Yeah. It's funny, everyone goes on about how
you mentioned earlier you liked it.
I
still
love
Cluedo.
I still love Cluedo. Even if it's,
I like Cluedo.
Even if it's one of those games where I've played so many board games, I still love Cluedo.
It's a shame it's been overdone as much as
exactly.
The M word, but
at least Cluedo in my book's a good game. Anyway, I'm not here to spark any, if what people like, so yeah. But all that aside, Mysterium has got some Cluedo-esque elements where you are then making a scene about which room you were killed in, what weapon and who it was. But what makes it different is, I don't know if it's, I'm going to mispronounce this as Dixit.
Dixit. I like Dixit.
Did I pronounce it right? It's funny, I play so many games, I can't pronounce some words. But anyway, Dixit. Because what happens is you get these obscure imagery cards, and what happens is for each person, the ghost cannot speak. Mm-hmm. They are literally just talking to all these quote-unquote psychics around the table, trying to say who was involved with this killing and this murder, and they're trying to give that information so that you can advance to the next stage. And the reason it's so cool is because you can put a card down thinking, as the ghost, absolutely, they are 100% going to get that I'm talking about the the attic, for example, and then you put it down, and one of the random cards you can put down, because there's like 4, depending on how many people to play with. Some of them are red herrings. And you forget when you play that card, which is surely going to mean, they're going to think it's the attic. You forget that, that there's a polar bear in that picture. You chose it because of the blue. No, they see the polar bear and they think, you're talking about the polar bear, like bear-shaped rug that could be in this room.
Yeah.
And you can't say anything because you know they're wrong. So then you use these cards trying to explain the imagery, but just because that's how you see the imagery doesn't mean that that's how the person's going to see it.
Exactly, yeah.
And what makes the game so cool is the fact that you can have so much fun trying to communicate while one person is muted.
Mm-hmm.
And you only have X amount of cards to mess around with unless you use the special Raven tokens, which allow you to ditch cards and get more.
Yeah.
But it's so fun because you only have X amount of turns before you can, before you have to pass on. You no longer have the connection to the spirit realm.
I love the spooky sound there as well.
Hey, I like the classics. But no, but you have that, so you're trying to get that information. And some people could argue it's not really co-op, but in my books it is, because obviously you've got the ghost trying to communicate to the other person. You're trying to work together.
Trying to work out.
If you've got more than 2 players, which I really recommend people do, I'd say this one for me, probably about 5 players is good. Maybe more than 2, because then they're trying to interpret. And a number of times where I've played it, and then one person's made one comment, I'm like, no, and I'm like, you can't. You have to keep very stoic. But you're sitting there and the person's on the right track, and one person with this discussion hops in, suggests something, and that's it. Snowball. You can't correct it. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And also, I really like Gothic. I really like Halloween. So this game's fantastic.
Have you played the expansion?
I have got the expansions, unfortunately, because of what's happened.
Of course, yeah.
I haven't had the chance. And also, there's a lot of games which come to the table, and all of us have been acquiring games over lockdown and all of that, so we've all been playing those. And there's some games where you just really want to play some classic games. This is a really good game. I like it a lot. I just don't get the opportunity to have it see the table.
Yeah, a lot of friends of mine keep bringing this up, Mysterium and whatnot. Have you ever played Obscurio?
That rings a
It's
bell.
up there, by the way.
I have heard
It's
of it.
essentially that with a traitor mechanic.
You see, that sounds really intriguing to me because I like traitor mechanics.
Yeah.
But
The Jason mechanic, sorry.
the
Jason mechanic.
The Jason mechanic. But I must admit, I like the Jason mechanic. But
For £30, that game is beautiful.
fair enough.
I'll show it to you later. It's just...
Like I said, my list is flexible, but that just for in terms of the accessibility of it, it's a cheaper board game.
Yes.
Which for me... It's this hobby you can fall into hard. You can fall into and spend a fortune on something that you yourself are just going to... It's going to be something that you nerd out over, and it's just personally. No one else will get it. And that's not a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing because it's uniquely you. And I know that I'm surrounded by mates who are board gamers. Mm-hmm. So they know if they bring up Kingdom Death for me, I know if I bring up Marvel Legendary with Jason, that's it. I've got a conversation.
Nerdgasm!
Nerds! But the thing is I know that's coming. And when you touch upon the baby games that we love, which are obscure. But the good thing is the reason it's high on my list is the theme is just as good.
Absolutely.
It's a lot easier for people to get the grips of, especially you can say it's Cluedo, but another way of
better.
Absolutely, but better.
While it's not necessarily better, it's a good way to get people to say, okay, there's more games out there.
Yeah, than just Cluedo.
Just Monopoly, the M word. I know, but...
Do you have any American listeners?
We have 17% American listeners. I don't know how many.
Clue.
I think
those
yes,
of you
of
in
course.
America.
Oh, so Clue, yeah.
I do apologise. Yes, Clue if you're American, but
fucking dumbasses.
they're not dumb. Hey! They are not dumbasses.
They just can't say "dough" at the end.
No, that's not it at all. That's what they call it. Yeah,
Lazy
so Cluedo
bastards. Sorry if you're listening, American.
No, they're not lazy bastards. That's what they call it. That's
Genesis
what they call it.
instead of Mega Drive, or Sorcerer instead of Philosopher.
Now,
so lazy.
We are not getting into that debate today.
Anyway, yes, sorry, Mysterium.
But Mysterium, but no.
Or Mysteer in America.
But no, all terrible jokes aside. All terrible jokes aside, it's one of those games which is relatively cheap, easy to come by, has a great theme, and again, I noticed that, or I didn't realise, doing this list, how much I like having conversation pieces, having a joke, having all the stories you can share with people about games. Didn't realise just how important that was until I'd just been sitting here talking about it.
Talk about it, yeah.
But I just, you will have a laugh. And at the end of the game, if something's gone wrong with the ghost, you just want to go, how the hell did you get that? Or how the hell did you not think that I would see it like that?
Yeah.
And it's that joke, it's that, exclamation. And if you're successful and you're like, yes.
But then you got that person that susses it out, and you're like, how? Just how did you get that from that?
Exactly. There's stories on that one. And then there's other elements at the end of the game where whoever gets to the end, they get like the final mystery about who's killed the actual ghost, who's killed, in this instance, me, for example.
Where the Cluedo part comes into it.
Yeah, and then there's like one final thing they have to do, which is like, okay, so we know this person's done this and this. Which one is the actual one that's responsible for your death? And then they have to vote. And then if they all vote, and because this is where it's a nice cult thing, where if they all vote the same one, then they're correct, and yay, everybody wins. Otherwise, you failed. Ghost.
You failed me.
But I love the theme. I didn't read out the description of it, but it's like, you're all playing as psychics, so it's really quite, in terms of a jokey theme, it's really nice.
So the expansion is like a carnival sort of theme to it, isn't it, or something?
Oh, you're thinking of Mysterium Park. Mysterium Park plays on its own. It's like a standalone.
I can remember if it was an expansion or a different.
Technically,
Mysterium.
There are some for the game of Mysterium. It's like Secrets and Lies, and there's another one.
Yep.
So yes, there are technically, but what they do is they add more cards, like for scenarios for people. Mysterium Park. It's its own thing in a way. I must admit, I'm not. I have not played it, so I can't really be a voice.
Can't really judge on it, yeah.
So yeah, but the way I see it, even if you see it as like its own little thing, or if it's added to it, I don't know. I must admit, but the way I see it, more Mysterium.
So you give it a go. You would give it a go. Then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's just one of those things where, again, because there are other things to see the table, that's why it hasn't been on there. But it has to be on high on this list because, again, accessibility, gateway games,
very popular as well. Yeah.
It's not just about the popularity. There's just that getting people who are not into board games, seeing that wider view. And I know obviously people can go, oh, it's very casual, oh, it's very, very popular and all of that. But it's like, yes, and it can be a casual game, and I can imagine that if people aren't in the mood for it, it could go a bit weird. But at the end of the day, who doesn't want to play a ghost and go, please save my soul? You
should play Paranormal Detective.
Yeah.
You should play that, because that's when you got to play as a ghost and try and solve your mystery. But you have to get them to figure it out. But you definitely give that a go.
So it's a fun little game that you can ham it up, you can make it as corny as you want, but either way, it's just again a unique concept in a game, and it's it's just the fact it's so much cheaper as well. So it's good.
Good choice.
Yeah, very good game.
So we're going down to finally the number ones. Are we ready?
No.
Because you're going to hate mine, Jace.
The real question is, are we going to manage to do this without another clash? We've only had one.
You definitely ain't clashing on mine. I'm telling you now.
Okay.
If it is, it's going to be between you two.
I don't think we're going to clash. I have a feeling that you might have actually forgotten this game. You've played it, but I think
God! Like I said, I don't get stuck by my list. But let's see what happens.
Let's go for it.
It's number one.
Right, so you're really going to hate me on this one.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
So, mine, and give me time to explain on this as well, by the way, when I say it.
Do you want to mute my mic then so I can't...
just for now, if that's all right. Just during my number one.
All right.
But my number one is Mansions of Madness, and I friggin' love it. Right? Hear me out, Jason. Jason, hear me? I'm muting you. I'm joking. Yeah, Mansions of Madness. When I was introduced to this, thank you, Karen and Tom, by the way, who introduced this to me, opened my mind to the whole app-based gaming. And now, app-based gaming is not my favourite.
Sorry to interrupt. You're talking about second edition.
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I love the idea of, the whole people go out and do the murder mystery night thing. Mm-hmm. So this, to me, is essentially that in your own home.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. And I love the whole co-op aspect of it, because you are together trying to solve this mystery, the different scenarios you can do, the expansions that you can get. I mean, look at them, for crying out loud. It's incredible. It's not very imaginative because you have the app that tells you what to do and all this. At the end of the day, I'm not a very imaginative game player, hence why Simon keeps trying to get me to D&D. I don't think I could ever do it because I don't think I'm that imaginative. So that's why the app comes into it. But this is a game that got me into the Journeys of Middle-earth game, which is really good as well.
Yep.
The new Descent, I really want to play because that looks friggin' incredible, even with the app. But I can't deny that I really enjoy this game, and I've never, ever had a bad night playing it with friends. We all get into it so much. I mean, even with the puzzles you got to do, the restrictions you have, the tests you've got to constantly do, it's just, I friggin' love it, and I can't deny how much... it's my number one. I love the theme itself as well is one of my favourites, the whole Cthulhu-esque. I mean, not many people like it. Lovecraftian, thing. I think I've got other ones as well. I think I had Eldritch Horror somewhere as well.
Yeah.
And I've got Unfathomable coming tomorrow, which I cannot wait for. Which obviously isn't app-based, but...
No.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. That sounds actually fun, yeah. I don't know why. I mean,
it clicks.
Yeah, it clicks for me. And like I said, I love the even though you've got those expansions, how they constantly update the app as well for even more storylines. Yes, okay, you do have to pay for them, but they're not exactly expensive. They're like $3.99 or whatever sort of thing. But yeah, I can't deny having just such a great time. And then the last expansion did the
Easy.
Path of the Serpent, where they actually change it up and it's not in a mansion or on a boat or anything like that at all. It's actually like a Tomb Raider sort of version of it. And they, like Indiana Jones sort of style of it to it, which is kind of cool because, it's not within the Cthulhu sort of world, but, it's just out there differently. But yeah.
I must admit, at first I thought you were talking about the first edition because I've got all the first edition stuff.
Oh, do you really?
And I love Mansions of Madness.
I'll be honest, I've never played the first edition because I got introduced to this when all this was out. So
I must admit, I haven't played the second edition because when it was unfortunate timing, and but it was just what happened is I'd just finished buying all the stuff for the first edition, and they announced second. First edition stuff can be incorporated into the second edition.
You need the converter though, don't you?
You do need the converter. Yeah. So that was, I must admit, I have not played second edition because I must admit, me personally, I'm dubious about playing app-based things.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I must admit, now that years have passed, I'm tempted to give it a go because I love Mansions of Madness, and I will say to its benefit, I imagine the app makes it a lot easier because my goodness, the setup for the first edition, I don't know if it takes ages to set up.
It still takes just as long, I would imagine, because you still need to put them all aside, and you have to click on the app which ones you're bringing into it and whatnot. So there is still a bit of a bastard to set up. Whereas
with the first edition, if you don't mind me going on,
no, go for it, Liz.
With the first edition, it was all done with you have the scenario, and then you'd have to choose scenario. What version would you like to play? 1A, and it's like, okay, choose randomly from A, B, C. Choosing this, and you have the little stack of all these objectives which you don't look at. And I must admit, though, all the setup problems aside of how long it takes to set up and how long it takes to play, I must admit the theme is so fun.
Yeah,
and I have got one of my funniest board gaming stories is linked to this one, where normally, even in this concept of this game, you are dependent on which story you're playing. You are going along exploring, and you find these objectives. You complete these objectives, like for example, 1A, 1B, 1C, and you're working your way through it. And you are trying, and then slowly the story advances. They need to find certain items to go and access certain rooms, etc.
Yeah,
which I believe is still accurate.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. So it's fantastic because really is like that mystery. Ooh, what's going to happen? Ooh, it's that Lovecraftian-esque sort of like shenanigans going down and all of that, and you're trying to prevent it. But I have got such a good story of this one, if you don't mind me sharing.
No, please.
So good. Well, it's meant to be they follow this lovely little narrative line where they then have to go up here and they're in the house, and the one that we'd set up, I can't remember which number it was in the first edition, but for some reason my friend decided, I'm going to go into the garden. Really early on, for no reason, no rhyme or reason, I'm just going to go there. So effectively, while the rest of the group was following all of the objectives narratively, logically, like they were supposed to, he went and hopped to C, and he found an item that wasn't meant to be found till after they've discovered that they needed it.
Okay.
So they were at 1A, the rest of them at 1A, and he'd hopped to 1C, rolled incredibly lucky, found the item he needed, so they walked off to 1B, and then they were just like, okay, jink. Oh, goodness. But somehow, I was still able to, I was playing the bad guy, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
You know. And it was all these really fun scenarios of them trying to unlock my creature, because the objective was to get the monster out of the house. It crossed the threshold of the foyer of the hall. It had won, and through them misunderstanding the rule, which I did implement my rule, thinking, no, if they're that determined to mess with me, they forgot it was my choice which way, because they were trying to block me, so I couldn't. They trying to get it to send it back a space.
Yeah,
but they didn't read the card properly. I chose. So I made it instead hop forward past their blockade. So I was going to win. It was one person's action left. And it was the person with the gun. If they rolled a 6, they would do a lucky shot and they would kill it in one. It's the once per game thing. And what did he go and roll?
6.
It was rolled a 6. So I had literally done it. I'd beaten their strategy. And he rolled the 6 and shot I can't remember what the monster was called now, dead in that foyer. And I literally looked at him because it was my turn next. They had messed up. Their grand plan had failed. And I was doing my mechanical. It was in the bag. And they were scrambling. I loved it. The entire group I was playing with was scrambling, trying to see if there was a way around it. And he pulled off the luckiest shot in his goddamn life, pardon my language, and he literally just killed it, and I lost the game. Game's over. But it has become one of those legendary stories among my friends where, hey, Kyrie, you remember when I just one-shotted your big bad? I'm like, And I was
never going to let it down.
Never going to let it down. But that game is a really special one for me as well. But I must admit, I do kind of regret, because when they released the second edition, I was so grumpy because I hadn't had the chance to play all the first edition.
Sure.
And I thought, oh God, they're putting on an app. I will have to give it a go because I want to. Now that I've played a lot more games, I'll give it a go. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they've done. So yeah.
I mean, it was going to be my number 2 at one point, but then there was a scenario where myself, Simon, and Tom and Karen had played it, and throughout the whole game, you were as a team, and you obviously explore, find stuff, obviously. Where in this version, you split up, and one has to go through a portal, and it's essentially 30 years later.
Oh,
so
cool.
one end of the board you've got now, and then you've got 30 years after, and the stuff where you like, I have to put this here so that they can have it, find it in the future, and all that. I just thought that was a very, very little clever
really cool
way of doing that. And if something like that, an app can do that, because again, I'm a lazy gamer. As much as I love to like set up all this and go, all right, Anne, you've got a giant tree in front of you and it's going to kill you. What are you going to do next? I kind of like have to have something there to say like, oh, okay, now I've got something I can think of. Let's do a strength test and give that a try. I mean, I'm nothing against app games. That's essentially the only one I've played apart from Journeys of Middle-earth, which like I said I mentioned. They don't have to be app games. You know, like I said, I've got M.T.V.B coming and it's just it's probably my favourite one at the moment. So it's just the fact it's number 1 because, like I said, even though we've lost the scenario, it gives us that excuse to go back, try again, find a different whatever it is. I need to find a different stone to take down the wizard or whatever it is.
I was just thinking of all the stories you made. I mean, I just rambled on about a story which happened years ago. But it's those moments you get to play with these sort of games which are just so fun and so funny.
Exactly, and I think out of all those expansions, I don't think I've even scratched the surface on half of that yet, even though there's only like 3 in a box or something. But the stuff they come up with and the detail to it, I know it's with an app again, but it's just...
that you don't need to speak, like, you don't have to speak down as because you're having to use an app. If it's a medium that helps you enjoy your game and something that engages you, you say you're a lazy gamer, you're gaming, you are a gamer. It doesn't matter if you're what for. It's
essentially like, guys, you want to do a murder mystery night? Let's dish out mansions. And they're like, yeah, let's, give it a crack.
I've got a feeling I just lost respect points. I just saw the slight glare.
Yeah, he's biting his lip here, guys.
Yeah, I did have to signal him, let me go first.
Right, let's take him off mute. Jason, how do you feel about app-based games?
I think if I die, guys, it's been fun.
Yeah. Nice to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting force choked. I'm sorry, Jason. I'm sorry.
All joking aside, like Mansions of Madness is actually a really good game.
Yeah,
as a co-op game for me.
As a co-op game, it is a fantastic game. And I sort of have sat here, listen to you. I actually do like this game.
That's fair.
All joking aside, I do enjoy
fine.
it. I favour.
First edition.
The first edition. Yeah. I never played it, so I couldn't pick it.
The second edition, obviously, where they did start to incorporate the app, it does help a game to a degree because it does enable them to add extra stuff. It enables them to do all this stuff for free.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they'll make you pay for it, but, you know, most of the time they'll add these things for free. And it's not a bad thing all the time they're supporting it.
Yes.
Which is where my issue with app-based games comes in, mainly, is that eventually they will stop supporting it.
Yeah.
As long as that comes when, say, version 3 comes out, that's fine.
Especially
But when you've got games like one of the ones that sticks in my mind is U-Boot.
Yes.
Which is an app-required game. It's actually built into the mechanics. You can't play the game without it.
Right, okay.
And the game's kind of already died because they've essentially stopped supporting it.
Yeah.
It's only been out,
It's
2
been
years?
out about 2-3 years.
Wow,
I
really?
might be wrong
And
there.
that's not a cheap game. It's, you know, it's about 100 and something pounds for that game.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a very, very good game. But because it's required, the app is required,
Right.
yes, you can continue playing it, but eventually...
So is the app gone completely then?
The
or?
app is still there.
Right.
But as, yeah, I mean, we all know, they update software on phones,
Yeah.
but they're not updating the app.
Gotcha.
So eventually it's going to get so old, it's not going to work.
It's not going to be able to run at all, is it?
So, you know, I mean, that's a poor example because the game is really long and that's why people don't play it. But yeah, it's that puts me off of it.
Sure.
You know, that and the fact that I am looking at a screen when I don't want to be looking at a screen and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, take it all aside, Mansions of Madness is a very, very good game. Absolutely love it. I love how many expansions they've got. I would play that game happily.
Yeah.
You know, with or without the app, I would play it. So yeah,
I'm intrigued to
choice.
try the first edition because there are expansions for that which can cross over to the second edition, but it's so fucking expensive. Yeah. It's like the cream of the crop, like £300 plus.
Yeah.
And it's so intriguing to give it a go. But again, I would love to just see what it's like without the app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, in that
especially
case,
like you said with Kerry with the setup, is like I can't imagine how that would be.
in that, literally, it's like you get little cards. I have got it. I'm more than welcome to play. Happy to play with you at some point because it's one of those games which, because so many people I know have started playing second edition, people, even though you can incorporate first edition into second edition, I haven't had a chance to play for years.
Yeah, sure.
So it will be something I'll happily bring to the table. It just obviously interest and people have second edition as well. So yeah.
So on the first edition, you set the whole thing up straight away.
Pretty much. You you kind of do. It's been a while, so I might be a bit rusty. But like I said, you set up the little cards with the objectives as a set, almost little set deck, which you then flip over when you do the.
Okay, so you don't actually see what's behind the door and
if
whatnot.
you're behaving, yeah, you don't. You flip it over and then it reveals what happened.
I was going to say because that must take some of the element away from it if you get to know what you're coming up against.
Which is why it gives you the variance, because even though some of the elements will remain the same, it will change where you might find some items, which is what made it so devastating when my friend randomly went into the garden because he found the crowbar. I think it was the crowbar he needed. That's what made it so devastating, because of his arbitrary randomness, because he just fancied doing it.
Yeah.
He then broke that bit of the narrative, so that's what made it devastating. But it was still really engaging. I must admit, it's a bit fiddly when you're trying to have to set up some of the pieces.
Sure.
Or find some of the tiles. So you pretty much set up most of the board from the get-go. Have all the cards laid out. You have on the app, I believe, you just enter the room and then it has the things, events occur.
Yeah, so you have the Explore token. If your character gets to it, then it'll say place this board here, whatnot, because they're double-sided. And I wasn't sure if that was the case for the first edition.
What you have is you actually have face-down cards. So you put on the board face-down cards. So it kind of gives an indication of where you need to go. Yeah. But you obviously don't know how many of them are red herrings, how many have got nothing on it, how of them are actually useful. And some of them will have locked doors. You bust your balls trying... pardon the phrasing. You will try your hardest. That's better. You'll try your hardest to get through. Finally succeed, just to find out there was nothing in there, and they've wasted time. And you're just sitting there, as you people going, "Yes, yes, you wasted your precious time, you fools." But also in a way, from when I did. When I did look at the app briefly, because I didn't look too much into it. It's nice because the difference is where you have the physical cards on the board, it kind of gives that visual clue of how to direct the game. Yeah. Whereas, again, I haven't played, so you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here. Whereas with the app, it looked like you had to tap on that room and hope.
Yeah. Essentially,
Is that right?
some of it will say, "Oh, it leads to a large room," or "It leads to such and such." But again, you don't really know where it's taking you.
I suppose it depends. There's that fine difference again between. Do you want to have that visual hint where the card is just blank, or it wasn't blank, it had like some flavour text on it. So yeah, but then you also could lead the direction a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was an interesting one, and to be honest, I'm happy to play either. I just want to play Matches of Madness again now.
I know you keep talking about it. It's like, God, I don't want to play it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Jason, it's my number one, but
That's all right.
You don't need to apologise. It's
All right.
your list.
It's your personal list.
And also, put it this way: because you've brought it up, you're now probably going to get to play first edition. I'm going to get to play second. So
there we go. Winning.
So this alone has made it the entire conversation worth it.
Totally worth it.
Exactly, totally worth it.
Awesome.
So yeah, number one, sir. What's your number one?
Okay, so my number one, I had to think about this long and hard, at least 2 minutes.
Yeah, you did.
2 minutes. My God, did you fry your brain in the
So
process?
quick, Jason.
Well, granted, part of that time was boiling the kettle for a cup of tea.
Good.
So, but yeah, this was an easy one for me. It's hands down my favourite co-op game of all time, and we joked earlier about how much I like the traitor mechanic. We joked how I like to fuck things over. This game has none of that.
Oh, doesn't
Okay.
have a Jason mechanic.
It doesn't have a Jason mechanic.
Really?
This is. I actually have a very large respect for this game because one, the game is really good, but it has a great theme that actually really plays on how important teamwork is.
Okay.
And the game is called Flashpoint Fire Rescue.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. How did I forget about that game?
Honestly, I know of it. I've never played it.
Okay.
You done an episode on it,
We
didn't you?
have
Yeah.
indeed, yeah. We've done a couple of episodes on this actually because the game is just over 10 years old now.
Oh wow. Didn't know that.
And this game, I love this game for many reasons. One, it's actually the cheapest one on my list, considering Pandemic was on here. This game sells for £25.
Yeah.
Now, what you get in the box for that is fantastic, but this game needs to be in more people's collection, in my mind, because it is really good. The theme, obviously, is that you work as a team of firefighters. You are going into burning buildings, and depending on what expansions you've got, other types of structures. And you're basically there to save the victims that are still in a burning building, including people, pets, all that kind of stuff. And you get X, depending on which characters you have X amount of actions in which you can do, including fighting fires. You get to rescue people. The fun part, you can knock down walls if you really want to. It's not always the best thing because so many walls collapse, the whole building collapses,
And that's game over.
Right.
But yeah, it's got everything in there, and it actually sort of I love the idea of the co-op aspect of it because it's exactly how real firefighters are.
Yeah.
They put each other's lives in their hands, and although this is just a game, I've always said I would love to play this game with real firefighters and actually get their opinion
on it,
on exactly how well this game replicates what they go through on a daily basis. I do know a couple of firefighters, and they have played it and said, yeah, this is actually pretty spot on.
Okay.
One thing that they sort of did highlight is you can enter the building at different locations. As ideally, we wouldn't do that, but at the same time,
it's still pretty much the rest of it.
But yeah, it's not sort of a real. Doesn't have like real life artwork on it, so it's not going to be distressing to people.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did highlight in the episode we did about it was, while this is a family-friendly game, you can lose by not saving enough people or victims, and of course, if they're then revealed in front of kids that it was like the family cat, for example, they're going to be very upset.
Scar them.
But it's a game. Yeah, it's a game, and it is a fun game. The miniatures are really nice. They are American-style firefighters, which I'm totally okay with. I'd like to see a British version. British firefighters in there. Represent.
Another excuse to get another edition of it, isn't it?
Well, there is, but at the same time, I've got a couple of 3D printers, so if
So have they Is it on its own? They've never done expansions or anything?
They
for it?
have done lots of expansions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the expansions I actually class as essential, which was the last one they did, and that's because it changed the hotspot mechanic. But even without that, the game is fantastic, and it builds intensity because after every turn you're sort of rolling to see where the fire's expanded to. And at the same time, if you happen to roll where there's already a fire, that causes an explosion, and walls collapse, all that kind of stuff. X amount of walls collapse, the whole building collapses, you lose. Enough fire or enough people die, you lose. And there's only, I think it's a 2 to 6 player game.
So how is the board done? Is it like with pieces? Or?
So you've got... It's just, I suppose the best way to describe it. It's slightly bigger than a Monopoly board with a grid on it. And in the standard version, you have like little tokens which represent where the fire is.
Okay.
It starts off as smoke. If it then land on that again, it switches over to being a fire. And you've got your miniature firefighters going in and putting out the fires. One action just knocks it down one level so you can put it back to smoke. 2 actions completely eradicates the fire, that kind of stuff. You've got some of the expansions which includes a fire rescue dog, which is awesome because he has 12 actions, which is far more than anything, but obviously he can't put out fires. He's incredibly fast, but it's that whole thing of you've sent the fire rescue dog in, he's found a victim because he's really good at finding the victims, and then you can just have the movie going on in your head of this dog just dragging out the victim. As
much as we all love the dog, and the dog is honestly one of the best characters, in terms of the concept, the hotspots would be that certain spots in the game, if a fire sparks near it, it's a hotspot, which means the heat of that flame in concept means that hotspot also flares.
Right.
The expansion completely changes that element of the game. So what happens is you have an intensity deck, and it gets flipped over one at a time. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Jason. Mm-hmm. You flip over one card at a time, and it is one of the most tense moments in the game because most of the time you'll just do the normal roll most of the time, which is completely like standard. The hotspots are removed, but the reason the hotspots are removed is because in that deck you have got elements where the fire rages, which means that you have to do the roll and then a new spot can inflame out of nowhere. There's no longer hotspots, but there's just that much risk. And then if you hit any hazardous materials, which will also cause explosions, so you have an escalating fire that gets worse and worse very quickly. So hotspots are taken away, which means that you don't get flooded with fire too quickly. Mm-hmm. But you also get the more intense situational base of something has changed in the environment. And the hotspots, while they're predictable, they could be tricky with the base game.
Yeah.
But that expansion, that tension, it's that you can make all the arguments you want. The base game is very good. But there are some games, and this is where the argument about expansions we brushed upon briefly earlier, expansions can really add to a game. And this is one of those games which I'm sure if we make a list, it's also going to be on that list because that adds like this real life tension to it. It actually has that change in scenarios. So it is, and I must admit, when I've played the 2 versions, because I've got the base game, and then I played with the expansions, it is better with that expansion.
Okay.
But it's still a fantastic game. I cannot believe I forgot it.
I can't believe I've never played it. So I think that's worse than
in terms of how it is. It's the grid, the flame spreads. Yeah, you want, and you can lose a couple of ways. It's too many people die versus how many people stay. Sorry, guys. That's how it is in the game. And then too much fire, or not too much fire. All the walls go down as well.
So the aim of the game is just put the fire out.
The aim of the game is to save the X amount of people.
Right.
In terms of putting the fire out, the fire's always going to keep reoccurring. The way you win the game is by saving victims.
Right.
So that is the main thing. You need to get them out of the building and onto a vehicle to get them out.
So how do you determine, like you said, how do you know that you've not saved enough survivors?
It's simply marked with tokens. The victims are marked as little tokens. They have like little question marks on the back. So what happens is they are randomly assigned. You mix them all up, and some of them are going to be blank. Some are going to be victims, some are going to be pets. We always count the pets as victims that we can save. We put them on the save pile. That's a house rule. That is a house rule, but we love our pets, so that's why we always put it on there anyway.
Sure.
But that's a pure house rule. But it's meant to be that you save... I can't remember the number anymore. I think it changed.
I think it's at one point or another it was 7.
Yeah, I think. Well, my brain said 7.
I think it's now gone up to 10.
But it depends on what you add and what elements of it you add, and then expansions can add victims with extra requirements. So somebody who has health requirements, who might need the medic, or who's slower at moving.
Okay.
Or there's a couple, etc., etc., etc. So there's lots of different variants. But in terms of the base game, you have X amount of these tokens down. You have to go find that spot, flip it as one of the actions you can do, and it will reveal if it's a person. You hope it's a person, because then you can start doing the conveyor belt actions of get that person out.
Right.
So it really is like a real, like I say real life, but like a real life scenario where your objective is to get into that building, secure that building as best you can, suspend the fire to get the people out.
Okay.
And you are working against the time limit of the wall damage and the fire itself, which will get in your way in order to save those victims. That's it. That's how you win. There's no other. You can't just suspend the fire. No, the fire will always reappear. Yeah. Because between each turn, remember how I said like the fire intensifies or hotspots? Sure. You're rolling the dice to see what happens, and it will be things like, oh, smoke will appear, or oh no, more fire. Yeah.
Or explosions.
Sorry, I kind of like took that over there.
That's all good.
Because we all love the dog, but we were talking about actually how the hotspots.
We have to include it as actual survivor.
Exactly. So yes, that hero dog. Oh, but
Yeah,
no. So
awesome.
it's one of those really interesting games. I really can't believe I've got that. Wow. But it's a good co-op game, and it is a really nice tension. Yeah, to it.
Yeah, this game is another one of those that I say should be in every collection, but I understand why it's not. Like I said, it's been out for over 10 years now, and it sells out almost every print run it does in really, really quick time.
Wow.
At the moment, it's readily available. I was having a look at it earlier to sort of make sure that claim is still valid. But like I said, £25 for the base game. You don't need the expansions. I mean, I class the latest expansion as a must-have. I also am fully aware that you can't buy that expansion for love nor money.
Oh, wow, really?
It's very
really
hard
to get.
But that's why it's nice that the base game is so good. The hotspot mechanic, obviously I know we only brushed on it briefly, but we described it enough. But it is really quite a cool mechanic in and of itself. It's just, it's really fun on its own as well.
And they actually did a computer adaptation of this as well, which is on Steam for the PC users out there. And it's really good. It's a I play it regularly. Probably more so than the board game, just purely because obviously if I'm at home,
is it as good?
It's just as good. It plays exactly like the board game. It's nicely animated with the 3D characters, and actually having the flames appear, and actually seeing the explosions, and then seeing the characters running and putting the fire out and all that kind of stuff. It is a really, really good. It's probably. If I was going to do computer adaptation lists, it's probably 1 or 2 for me. So yeah, very, very good computer adaptation. So yeah, if you don't want to get the board game, I would highly, highly recommend getting the PC game because it's not expensive.
Oh, there you go. See,
the board game.
But no excuses, people. Play it.
Exactly.
Give it a go. Give it a go and have a look at it because it's one of those interesting things.
Can you bring it to the club, please, so I can finally play it?
I can indeed.
Oh heck yes! I want to play that game again now. Now he's mentioned it. Now I'm going to have that as on my mind.
All these mentions, I want to play this now.
Yeah. So yeah, that will be. It's one. It's always high on my lists as games that I think are fantastic. It's high on my list for games that I think people need to play. And yes, it will certainly be making its way to the club in the next couple of weeks.
Yay!
Nice. Whoop, whoop.
So yeah, number 1 for me.
Good choice, sir.
Fire,
that was actually a very good choice. Yes.
Down to the final one for number 1.
No pressure. Ironic that you chose Mansions of Madness because that's on my honourable mentions. The one I chose was Arkham Horror, the card game.
The card game.
Yep. Now, there's a few reasons. I have to do honourable mentions because...
It's one I've wanted to play as well.
Yep. Oh, trust me, I'm more than happy to play. It will take some... I'm more than happy to teach. Again, this is where I like the themes where sometimes you can just get unlucky, like I mentioned with Kingdom Death. I don't mind losing these games, but I'm going to describe why. This game is you make, with just the base game, you are playing through a story, and it's based off all of the Lovecraftian stories. You'll find that most of them are themed, even with your ones in Mansions of Madness, they are based around some of the stories and some of the short stories and books.
Okay.
So you will see some crossovers with some of the stories, which are actually...
Yeah, because some of the characters in that are in Eldritch Horror, so I would assume they'd be in Arkham as well.
And exactly so.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. There's a lot of crossovers there. And I would talk mostly about the base game, and then I'll cover some of the expansions.
Sure.
The best thing is you need the base game, which is why I want to stick on that. It's not that expensive, and what effectively you're going to be doing is you and one other person are going to be making 2 custom decks, and they will have like the themes of the Mansions of Madness and Eldritch Horror, where they have like the fight, the flight, and all the like magical things. Those themes also transfer into the card game itself.
Right.
So you have some people who are better at evading enemies, or you have some people who are better at investigations, some people are better at magic. That theme remains. But what makes this my number one is the fact that it's the story. And even though, yes, obviously if you've read Lovecraftian books, you will be able to guess what's going to happen, and it is predictable, but it's intense. Because what happens is you are playing as these character cards. It's a purely card-based game and tokens. And you can make it as hard or as easy as you want. I'll get onto that in a minute as to how. You make these decks. You can follow the ones they recommend for the first-time players, which are pretty good. As you get more cards, I'll again cover that in a second, you can then customise it, and you'll earn experience as you play through the game. When you complete scenarios and all of that, you'll gain X amount of experience points. These experience points mean that you can upgrade some cards, because those experience points count as pips, and these pips will appear on the card, so you can pay for like an upgraded version. And that's how you slowly, over time, upgrade your deck. Your deck becomes
so you can deck build in this.
It is deck building. It becomes unique, and this is where it will cross over into the positives and negatives. You can make something super unique, super positive, and you'll have certain cards you can only use. It'll be on the back of your character card.
Yeah.
They can only use red cards, blue cards, whatever. And you can make your deck unique. And you play through these stories. You are investigating something that's gone wrong. In something weird in Arkham or Massachusetts. All kinds of places. Cut that bit out. They'll be exploring all places all around the world, based on the stories I mentioned. And you are going to find all these locations, and some of them will be ones that might be familiar to your character, or they might be just completely things like university. There's one expansion which is covering like casinos, that sort of idea. Right. All these are linked narratively, and you work your way through. You may succeed, yay! You may die, you may lose a bit of insanity, but it's all part of the fun.
Yeah.
And what's really nice is also a campaign game where you pass through the chapters. Now, if you succeed or if you fail, certain things will be revealed at the end of that. You're not meant to read it because that's cheating. Yeah. Where you might have to make choices which have consequences later in the game. Right. You might find a certain item you need to make progression easier later, but there'll be a way around it. Mm-hmm. And narratively, it's just really cool because you can succeed or fail. Just because you fail doesn't mean you've lost the game. It just might mean it'll be harder later. Right, so you make these decks, you then use these cards against the monsters and the cultists and the acolytes that appear. You also look for clues. You investigate like you would with Mansions of Madness. Mm-hmm. You gather these clues, and you have got at the top, you've got two sort of like storybook chapter things, one with the bad stuff, one with the good stuff. I do quote unquote there because it doesn't always mean it's good.
Yeah, of course.
Where, excuse me. Where the bad guys, they are generating something called doom. This isn't true of all chapters, but it's like their way of, they generate, you need to keep the enemies down because some of them generate doom. If too much doom appears on one of those cards, you flip over and the story advances more on the negative side. Okay. So there's that side. So you need to manage that. But then if you find enough clues, you might find the next part of the story. How are you going to stop them from doing this? Mm-hmm. And quite often it will be, you need to find all the clues in order to stop them from completing the ritual. This is a very generic example. It's very different. And that's how you advance. And then each chapter, at the end of each chapter, whether you've succeeded or failed, There's even a chance to run away in some of the chapters.
Okay.
Because you just get a chance to come back and try the whole scenario again. Because sometimes, I
was going to say, it's a pretty good idea.
Yep, so you get all those elements, and you go on to next chapter of the story. It's a really nice narrative-driven. The reason it's so high on my list is not only just because of the story and the fact that it's so unique because you make this deck. This is a person who starts off very basically, and some of these cards are good, but there's like one or two when it's like their own trauma or things that are in their past which are related to the character, and they can pop up and work against you. It's absolutely brilliant. I'll cover, and yes, that's really cool. So some of your deck isn't always good things because these are people. These are skills that they have acquired. It's your deck.
Well, along the journey.
And some of them, they're core ones, which is like they've done a cover-up because they're a police officer and it haunts them that they did this cover-up. Yeah. One of them is a reincarnation of a witch who has to learn to control her powers, but she has that demonic side, for example. That's a little bit off for anybody who does play this game. I know, but yeah. I'm trying to keep it layman's terms, but no. So it's really nice because it's each chapter's unique, and even if you fail, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't progress. You have some which you die and you lose. Of course, you're fighting the big bad. You lose, you're gonna die. Yeah. But what makes it so fun with Arkham is you don't, unless even if you know some of the stories, you don't know how it's going to play out. You don't know what the locations are going to show. There's a little bit of randomness and replayability because you can shuffle the locations. Sure. You make the unique deck. But what also makes it cool is you can carry those characters over, or you can just make new ones from other expansions. Right. And then you can make a completely new deck. What's really cool is each new expansion you have, whether they're like the bigger box versions of it, because you have the core box, and it has like the first 3 chapters. And from the core box, they continue that core box's story into individual Mythos packs. It's like the next chapter of that story.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
But if you're not liking that, you don't have to continue playing it. But you can still take that character and pop it into a different expansion. It's its own unique...
So it doesn't have to go to that specific expansion.
No, you can just literally hike them. There's even like special scenarios which you go to, which you can just hike them. So, for example, my character is... It's not, I can't remember what it's like, Ragnarok or something like that. It's not a werewolf, but it's like a bayou monster from like in the American. Okay. America. But that's a curse, which was really handy for my character because my character wasn't very strong. So me getting that curse actually really benefited, because if I realise it's hit the fan, you can just turn into, if I have the card, I can turn to beast and just turn into a monster.
Gotcha.
But that's from that particular one special scenario.
Right.
But the core boxes the core box you need to play, but the other expansions which you can buy, they're completely new storylines. So there's witch-themed ones about like this Circle Unbroken. There's I'm trying to think some off the top of my head. There's some which have like
I've seen ones in like slightly bigger box, and then there's just some that's like a tiny little deck, and that's it.
So those larger boxes, they are like the start of a new story.
Right.
All the little packs are a continuation, like the next chapter from one of those boxes.
Right, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
So you will get normally chapters 1, 2, and 3, and you can end it there. There'll be an overarching plot, but you can keep going, and then you can just get all those chapters and play it through. And another amazing element of this game is the fact that you have some, and I will spoil, so I apologise for some people, but I won't tell you which ones. But the way the locations play out can be really random, whereas you might get like the standard, you're in a town, there's building A, B, C, D here, you work your way around the town. You have one which is on a train, and the carts are slowly being disconnected.
Sweet.
So you're racing up the train to try to get to the locomotive. Oh, that was so fun. And then you had one where you were in Venice, and you had to run around this large circle thinking, oh God, I'm going around in circles. But it became a really elaborate puzzle because you had an enemy which was hopping like around all the ritual spots as well, like hopping around the circle. So they weren't on the loop, but you had to try to avoid them and keep up with them at times as well in order to do damage dependent on what you were trying to do.
Right.
Each of those locations, and those are unique. You don't know what you're going to get in either the little packs or the core story. And for me, that versatility, the fact that you can make such a unique character in the form of that deck, and the fact that you aren't necessarily doomed if it goes wrong.
Right, yeah, because you said you can go back and replay that scenario, sure.
Yeah, so it depends again on the scenario.
Which again, a lot of games don't let you do that.
Yeah.
Once you're through, that's it.
Exactly.
Isn't it? So, yeah.
The one downside is it's relatively cheap to get into, which is good. But if you want to buy all those individual like conclusions, because I really like knowing the ends of stories, even if I don't necessarily get the best ending, I love playing through to the natural end of a story. They aren't expensive, but considering there's like 4 or 5 different stories,
Yeah. And they still go today, don't they?
they're still going. But considering there's like 4 or 5 core stories, I might be wrong there, and then there's lots of individual chapters. It does build up. It does take up space.
Takes up money.
It takes up money too, but I must admit though, but it's nice because even if you don't necessarily play it, like all those stories bits, you get access to a new shop, and you can just use that new shop because of those cards. So you have all the access to these other resources because you've got those. So yeah, it's one of those really interesting games. It's just really versatile. You can make tons of new characters, new how to play. Yeah, so for me, it's my number one because it is expensive, but you don't have to buy everything.
Sure. It's up to you if you want to continue or not.
Exactly. And the fact that you can take that character and just dump it in a new story is massively appealing. You do sometimes, if you're unbelievably lucky like me and my friend were, you can have like XP points to spare. So you can just buy most cards and you just get this super powered, broken character. But even then, that can still go wrong.
Right.
Because you have to play through the scenarios. So for setting, the replayability and all of that, I think it's really interesting. The expense can be a bit troublesome in space because obviously it's lots of cards, keeping it organised.
Yeah.
But then they've also got the hard versions, which is Return To, which are nice like boxes which you can store the cards in. But it's like a hard mode. And the best thing, and one of the interesting things is you have these tokens, and another way you've got your playable character, you also have the random luck of tokens.
Right.
That token bag is evil.
I bet.
Because you can dip in and you might draw a +1. Yay, +2. Yay, inconceivable +3. That boosts your score. You can draw 0, nothing happens. -1, -4, -8. And sometimes by degrees of failure, something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that token bag also becomes unique over time because some things will ask you to take certain ones out. So excuse me for rambling. But no, it's one of those really interesting. It really does become unique to you and that person you're playing with. Mm-hmm. Other downsides, you can play it with 4 people, but you need.
This is what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, you can play it with 4 people. But there is one problem where you'll need a second core box.
I was literally about to, because I was looking at this the other day. I was going to start getting into it, but then I found out that the core box is only meant for 2.
Yes.
But then if you want more, you have to buy
pay,
2 or 3 more, don't you?
You have to. If it's meant to be for 2 people.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that. I thought
then,
it was like Legendary, where you can get a bunch of people in, and that's when I was like, that's what put me off Arkham. Yeah. Was that the fact? Oh, if I want my group to play, I've got to buy 2 core box sets.
Yes, because the core cards, there is a reason for it. Where some of the core cards you get, which are in your like starter deck, some of those cards you must have, especially if you're starting at XP0.
Yeah.
They have to have some of those cards in there because otherwise the deck won't be playable. And but yeah, so I must admit I haven't toyed with much with the 4-player version, but the 2-player version, just for pure that intensity of I want the next chapter. That for me is why it's my number one because because story, theme, price, and you get to choose that flexibility. That's why it's so up there for me. And I went on for way too long.
No, it's fine. That's totally fine. There's a reason why you've got to explain why it's your number one.
Yes,
that's the issue with top 5s. You can't just go, that's there. All right, well, why?
Yes, that was hardly concise and hardly very descriptive. Exactly.
Well, no, this is the issue because again, if people don't know it, you have to explain it.
Yes,
you have to get them to like Jason said, we have to explain it as to why you should be playing these games.
Yeah,
and I think you did it perfectly, so don't worry about it.
But no, it's a nice game for 2 people, and it's just that nice if you want a smaller evening. So yeah. So it's nice. So because something goes wrong with plans, it's like, okay, let's do this instead. Yeah.
So it's essentially, I wouldn't play Mansions with 2 people. Something like that sounds more ideal to have the same theme, but without the aggro of setting up or putting the app up or whatnot.
Here's your deck. That's this chapter.
Here's your Cthulhu chapter. Go.
Exactly. It's a lot quicker, and that's why I want to do my honourable mentions because Mansions of Madness was close there.
Yep.
But like I said earlier with Arkham Horror, and then it was kind of streamlined into Eldritch Horror. It takes in elements of things like Eldritch Sign, which is again very related to the same theme, the same setting, the same company.
Sure.
It takes like the best elements of those two, makes Eldritch Horror. It's not quite like that, but it kind of feels like that. But as much as that thing, the Eldritch Horror takes so long to play, Mansions of Madness takes a long time, regardless of what edition you play.
Yep,
takes a long time to set up. So the reason why, as much as I love Mansions of Madness and Eldritch Horror, the reason that's why Arkham Horror won is because you get the same theme, the same setting, crossover of the characters because they all cross over because
absolutely, yeah.
But it's that much quicker to actually get into the game and the scenario and the story. It's your deck, their deck. That scenario might have to randomly pick one. That stack, lay out the town or whatever you're playing as,
sure.
Train or whatever, go. It's that much quicker. It's a bunch of cards. It doesn't have to have the little fiddly puzzle pieces like you do with Munchkin.
No little figurines or anything.
It doesn't have any figurines. You have a player card. You flip the coloured side over to face down when you showed you've used your actions. Go. And that's why it took. That's also the other reason why it took #1 spot, because again, it's just that much quicker. So
quick and easy, like my women. Any other honourable mentions? I think we mentioned like a few, like Dead of Winter and all that sort of stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dead of Winter's
I would definitely chuck in some of the smaller. People know me well enough to know I love small box games, so I was so close to making sure at least one of them was on my list. But the likes of Hanabi,
that's the card game, right?
It is, yeah.
Yes.
You've got the Mind.
Fireworks.
I know you've.
I love
that
the
as well.
Mind. Yeah.
The Mind
game.
Extreme, which is the later version. You've got the Crew Quest for Planet 9.
Still haven't played that yet.
Fantastic trick-taking game. All of these were so close to making it into the list, but I just had to really sit there and think, it's like, which ones would out of all these games that I've written down, like when you first said that you wanted
this
to do
episode
a card thing, I was like, right, I think that same night I wrote 20. It's like, right, how the hell do I get this down to 5? I was like, right, got it down to 10. Okay, how the hell do I get this down to 5?
Yeah.
And that's why my list has been, oh no, I swapped that one. No, I swapped that one out. No, I swapped that one out. And that's why I knew exactly what my top 10 was.
Yeah.
Because I actually have a top 10 list written down, but it's only when we sat down to actually record this that list was set in stone. And if I'm completely honest, there was a point during this episode where I did actually swap one of these games.
Yeah, mine swapped over.
Hanabi was actually on the top 5 at the start of this recording, and it was swapped with Pandemic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So,
it's like you say, you can't not mention co-op and not bring Pandemic into it at the end of the day. So.
Exactly. I mean, in hindsight, I probably should have immediately replaced it back when Pandemic came out.
But no, it's good that you stuck to your guns, mate.
Your guns, because again, just because we have crossovers doesn't mean that it takes detract from what you say at all. Because it's not it at all.
Because in all fairness, when you said coming up with the top 10, a lot of mine were like, these are co-op, but they are technically still social deduction games, which was the annoying thing of it.
Yeah, so I tried to steer clear.
Exactly,
the
that's
likes
same.
Of Hail Hydra, which I think is a fantastic game. You know, like you said, basically all social deduction games, for the most part, a lot of them are co-op.
Yeah.
One thing that you will notice, especially with the list that we've talked about here today, is a lot of co-op games tend to have a horror theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot. And it's a very large percentage.
But that's because there's a thrill with having that shared
It
fear,
is.
that shared tension.
I think the other thing that you'll find as well is co-op games tend to be brutal as fuck.
Yes, that's true.
Is a nice way to put it. You know, Nemesis.
Meanest games.
You know, Nemesis is a good example of
totally.
that.
That's my top.
It's because you're working as a team against a system, and if you beat that system and you in a way that's not completely that's not rule, but all jokes aside about house rules, that's not completely bending rules, it's quite satisfying because you feel there's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's also that teamwork, and it's a good way to just take that step back, sit down with someone, and tackle a problem that is presented to you in the form of a board game.
Absolutely.
And it's something that you can also walk away from, which is nice in a way, because, if you need to break that...
Fuck this game.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely been instances of that with all of the games I've described.
Yeah.
With all of the games, I think actually I haven't played them all that you've said, but with all of the games that I have played and we've mentioned that I have done.
Do you know of any co-op games you're looking forward to at all, or just one in particular you're looking forward to?
That is a good question.
Sorry, I kind of threw that in.
I mean, this
prepared
one
for
would
that
be
one.
an easy one for me, just because I'm very close with the designer. Just funded on Kickstarter about a week ago at the time of recording was Earth Rising. 20 years to transform our world, which is a game where all the players work together in order to transform our really crap practices of polluting our planet and try and make a sustainable planet within 20 turns. I have a prototype copy of this that I was sent for review kindly by the guys at Stop, Drop and Roll, and I've played this solo. I've played it a two-player as well, and I am yet to win. It is a fucking hard game.
Brutal.
It is a brutal game, which, to be honest, considering the theme, is actually good that it is, because it's not that easy to just click our fingers and, everything's hunky-dory with, going green and all that kind of stuff. So I like that. I'm really looking forward to that actually delivering. Obviously, I'm lucky enough that I can play it as and when I want, because I still have the prototype version. And I show that game off to as many people as I possibly can.
Nice.
I'm hoping to have the designer back on the podcast again in the coming weeks, hopefully, because they are also the people that came up with Pugs in Mugs.
Oh, nice.
Which I introduced you to the other day.
Yeah, that was a good game. That good game.
So, yeah. It's same designer. Hopefully, we'll get you to play that one as well. So.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, off the top of my head, you've got the new Horrified coming out.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to the X-Men version of Marvel United. I really enjoyed that game the other day. It wasn't quite good enough to make my top 10.
No.
But
Wasn't expecting it to, but
at the same time, I've played it 3 times.
Exactly.
So more plays might change that.
So,
But yeah, off the top of my head, that's all I can think of.
I must admit, there's nothing on my radar at the moment.
Fine.
So yeah, but to be honest, I'm also one of these people where we got a new game. Okay, sit down and play.
Yeah.
So it's like it's tricky. I've got a lot of like 1-to-1 games to come up or slightly more competitive, but co-op. Yeah, that tends to be more like Jason's department than mine, but I do have...
This is the thing, co-op games are sort of ones that, like, hey, have you played this? It's never heard of it. Let's try it.
Exactly, and it's one of those interesting ones. There's plenty of like upcoming ones which are like either solo play or slightly competitive.
Sure.
But no, not co-op. So, yeah.
Right, I guess we'll leave it there, guys. I'd like to say a big thank you for coming along and... doing this episode with me. Finally got a board game one. Woohoo!
Oh, yes.
Kerry, I hope it wasn't too bad for you.
Oh, I hope I don't get slated.
No. So yeah, guys, if you like what you listen to, follow us on Facebook at the M.T.V.B podcast, or on Instagram at M.T.V.B podcast, on TikTok at M.T.V.B podcast 197, or on Twitter at M.T.V.B podcast 1. So from now on, it's Ant-Man, Jason, and Kerry signing off.
Thank you, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.